Chapter 885. We were a step too late. They've actually entered the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Should we continue to chase after them? One of the elders watched Jinshin and Charlie leave and asked with a heavy voice. The other old man pondered for a while before replying, "We can't enter the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall without permission. Let's report this to the Hall elders and wait for them to discuss it with the people of the Heaven's Spirit Hall before taking action." Afterwards, the two elders of the Serpent God Hall immediately reported the matter to the Hall elders. When Charlie and Jensen's master, Bai Yin, learned that Jinshin and the others had entered the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall with the item, his face immediately became stern. He frowned heavily. "It's going to be troublesome. I hope the people of the Heaven's Spirit Hall don't learn about the existence of that item, or we'll probably need the Hall Master to personally take it back. However, if that happens, a conflict will be unavoidable between our Serpent God Hall and the Heaven's Spirit Hall. At the same time, the Poseidon Hall will definitely not allow that item to exist. If the Hall Master learns about it, she'll definitely mobilize all the forces in the territory to destroy it. They definitely won't allow it to exist," Charlie said with a heavy voice. He was extremely stern. "Right now, I just hope that the people who took it don't know about its secret. At the same time, the people of the Heaven's Spirit Hall don't know about it either. That way, we might still have a way to salvage the situation." The light of wisdom flickered through the eyes of Jensen's master, Bai Yin. He had many more ideas than Charlie. "What other ideas do you have?" Charlie immediately looked at Bai Yin. "Let's talk to the Hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and send some people into the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall under the pretext of pursuing an enemy. We have to take back that item," said Bai Yin. Charlie's eyes lit up. "All right, I'll use the communication stone to contact the Heaven's Spirit Hall right now." Charlie and Bai Yin immediately used a special tool of the Divine Hall to contact the Hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. They told the Hall elders what they had prepared long ago. After a series of friendly negotiations, they finally received permission to enter the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. At the same time, in the territory of the distant Heaven's Spirit Hall, 3 Hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall were gathered in the center of the enormous Divine Hall. "The Serpent God Hall has sent experts to the territory of our Heaven's Spirit Hall to hunt down an enemy. That's strange. Why do I feel like this matter is not as simple as it seems on the surface?" said one of the 3 Hall elders. "I also feel that this matter is not as simple as it seems on the surface. His Highness Poseidon is definitely hiding something from us. Otherwise, such a trivial matter would not require their respected elders to personally come out. They could have just sent the rest of the powerhouses to hunt him down." Now that you've mentioned it, I also feel like this matter is a little strange. Their enemy has entered the territory of our Heaven's Spirit Hall, so the Poseidon Hall is completely capable of dispatching the experts of their tribes to hunt them down. Why must they send people from their Divine Hall over?" The 3 Divine Hall elders began to speculate. They all sensed that something was wrong. Right at this moment, a blurry figure appeared out of thin air on the empty throne above the hall. With the appearance of this figure, the entire hall was enveloped in a layer of terrifying pressure. The 3 Hall elders were surprised. They immediately became respectful. They stood up at the same time and bowed to the blurry figure. They said in unison, "Greetings, Hall Master. I can sense a sliver of the presence of the abyssal crystal. Go investigate immediately," said the Hall Master. The Hall Master of the Heaven's Spirit Hall said. Although his voice was calm, it was filled with an irresistible might. "What? The abyssal crystal?" The 3 Hall elders became stunned. Disbelief filled their faces. The Hall Master of the Heaven's Spirit Hall had already disappeared. He did not say anything else, as if he had only appeared to give this order. The 3 Hall elders looked at each other. Only after a while did one of them finally say, "It's said that the abyssal crystal comes from the depths of the sea of despair. The coldness, there is something that even emperors find difficult to endure. I never thought that there would be emperors who would risk their lives to obtain the abyssal crystal. The abyssal crystal is a special crystal. No one knows how it was formed. It has the ability to gather the essence of water elements. It's a legendary treasure in our sea realm, but no one has ever possessed it before. Legend has it that in ancient times, the great Poseidon went to the depths of the Sea of Despair to obtain a large piece of abyssal crystal to create the divine Hall of Despair. However, Poseidon passed away due to the end of his lifespan, so he moved the divine Hall of Despair to wander freely through the boundless divine realm. No one has ever been able to find its exact location. There's a special connection between the abyssal crystals. It's said that as long as you find a piece of abyssal crystal and refine it using a special secret technique, you can find the exact location of the divine Hall of Despair in the boundless divine realm. All right, let's not talk about that anymore. Let's carry out the Hall Master's orders. Suddenly, the expression of one of the Hall elders changed. He said, "It just so happens that the matter of the serpent god Hall hunting down a few of their enemies is rather strange. Do you think it has something to do with the abyssal crystal? Could it be that the enemies the serpent god Hall is hunting down are the people with the abyssal crystal?" The three Hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall guessed. Very soon, they connected the news of the abyssal crystal to Jianshan and the others who were being hunted down. I think that's probably the case. Let's go arrange it quickly. Regardless of whether the abyssal crystal is with the people being hunted down by the serpent god Hall, we need to investigate as soon as possible. If it really is as we guessed, we have to obtain the abyssal crystal before the serpent god Hall does. Within the territory of the Poseidon Hall, a blue-robed, mature woman who seemed to be in her 20s sat in the air of a secret room. She seemed extremely ordinary, but she was extremely beautiful. She was like a goddess that had descended from the heavens. "Hall Master, Qing Yishuan has arrived." At this moment, an old voice rang out from outside the hall. "Let her in." The woman sitting cross-legged in the air opened her mouth and spoke in a lively voice. The door to the secret room slowly opened. Qing Yishuan, dressed in white, walked in. Her beautiful face was slightly pale with a tinge of black. She had not fully recovered from the injuries she had received in the battle for the Octaterra map fragment a few days ago. Even the poison in her body had not been completely purged. Qing Yishuan bowed politely to the woman before her and said, "Qing Yishuan greets the Hall Master. Qing Yishuan, go heal in the pool of samsara. Once you've recovered, immediately go to the Heaven's Spirit Hall with Lei, Batian, and the others," said the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall. A sliver of excitement immediately appeared on Qing Yishuan's face when she heard that she could heal in the pool of samsara. With the assistance of the pool of samsara, she would only need 2 days to recover from her injuries. Even the poison that had tormented her for so long could be purged. Qing Yishuan suppressed her excitement and asked curiously, "May I ask why the Hall Master want me to go to the Heaven's Spirit Hall?" "Once you've recovered, you can learn the details of the mission from Lei Batian." "You can leave," said the Hall Master of the Poseidon gently. His voice was emotionless. "Yes, Qing Yishuan will take her leave now." Qing Yishuan bowed politely before leaving. Although Jianshan, Nubes, and Xie Wang had shaken off the pursuit of the 2 Holy Emperor of the Serpent God Hall, they did not dare to relax at all. They continued to fly towards the depths of the Heaven's Spirit Hall without slowing down at all, constantly changing their route along the way. Jianshan was carried on Nubes' back right now. He was very injured, so he was using the advantage of the chaotic body to heal as quickly as he could. After 4 hours of continuous travel, a medium-sized city finally appeared on the horizon in front of them. There's a city up ahead. There are many people in the city, so it'll be very good at hiding our tracks. Let's stop there for a while first and continue once you've recovered. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome if someone catches up to us again in your current state," suggested Nubes. "We'll be too obvious of a target if we flee like this. We can hide in the city first. The experts of the Serpent God Hall are restricted by the territory, so they won't dare to set foot here," agreed Xie Wang. Jianshan thought about it. He knew that his current state was indeed unsuitable for traveling. Since they were safe now, the matter at hand was to heal as soon as possible. He needed to maintain his peak condition at all times to deal with any sudden situations. "All right, let's enter the city first," said Jianshan. Afterward, the 3 of them directly flew into the city and landed in an extremely well-hidden place. They found a rather remote inn to stay in for the time being. Just as Jinshin's group settled down in the city, the two elders of the Serpent God Hall received a message from a hall elder at the border between the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall. They immediately rejoiced and no longer had any concerns. They directly crossed the border and entered the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall, continuing their search for Jinshin. There's still a faint smell of blood in the air. This must be their path of escape. Follow me. One of the elders of the Serpent God Hall, who was pursuing Jinshin, smelled the smell of blood in the air. He immediately pursued Jinshin's group as quickly as possible, and the path they took was exactly the same as the one Jinshin's group had taken. After traveling over 10,000 kilometers, the two elders stopped again. The old man, with an especially sharp sense of smell, sniffed the air again and said, "The smell of blood is getting thicker and thicker. They just passed by here recently. We'll catch up to them very soon. Let's go." With that, the two of them continued onwards. They were getting closer and closer to the small city Jinshin's group resided in. At this moment, a few tremendous presences appeared in the distance. A few figures quickly flew over from afar, and their target was actually the two elders of the Serpent God Hall. The two elders of the Serpent God Hall ignored him and continued to chase after the smell of blood in the air. They only treated him as a passerby. "Warriors, please wait," a voice suddenly called out. Suddenly, a loud shout came from the opposite side. The voice was like thunder, exploding the sky and spreading over dozens of kilometers. The two elders of the Serpent God Hall came to a halt instinctively. They hovered in the air as they stared at the rapidly approaching figures. They were motionless. Very soon, the people stopped 20 meters away from the two elders. There were a total of 4 of them. They were an old man and 3 middle-aged men. The old man had already reached the level of Holy Emperor, but he was only at the first heavenly layer of Holy Emperor. The other 3 middle-aged men were all saint rulers. The old man clasped his hands at the two elders and asked, "May I ask if you are elders of the Serpent God Hall?" "Correct. We are elders of the Serpent God Hall. Why have you stopped us?" one of the elders asked in doubt. Chapter 886. The two elders of the Serpent God Hall were immediately slightly surprised when they heard that a hall elder of the Heaven Spirit Hall had invited the two of them as guests. Although they were elders of the Serpent God Hall, that was only their status. They were ordinary elders without any authority, so why would a great hall elder of the Heaven Spirit Hall invite them? The two of them were extremely surprised. However, the two elders soon frowned. One of them said, "Please tell the esteemed hall elders that we're extremely honored to be respected by them, but we have an important mission right now, so it's not convenient for us to go to the Heaven Spirit Hall. Why don't we wait until we're done with our mission and pay a visit to the Heaven Spirit Hall?" The Holy Emperor from the Morning Sun tribe frowned slightly. He said with some displeasure, "Elders, I'm afraid that's a little inappropriate. Our hall elders are currently waiting for you in the Heaven Spirit Hall. Are you going to ignore our esteemed hall elders and have them wait for you in the Divine Hall? Or do you not take our hall elders seriously at all?" Towards the end, the old man's voice had already become rather stern. Before he had come, he had received a death order from a hall elder to invite the two elders of the Serpent God Hall to the Heaven Spirit Hall, no matter what. The Morning Sun tribe did not possess the strength to threaten the two elders of the Serpent God Hall, so they could only use the hall elder. The expressions of the two old men from the Serpent God Hall changed slightly. They immediately explained, No, that's not what we meant. How can we make a esteemed hall elder wait for us? We're more than happy to receive an invitation from a hall elder, so how could we not take it seriously?" The two elders of the Serpent God Hall did not dare to offend the hall elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall at all. Every single person who could become a hall elder was an extremely terrifying expert. They had reached the peak of the 16th star and were only a step away from the 17th star. The old man from the Morning Sun tribe smiled, as if his plan had worked. He made an inviting gesture to the two of them and said, "If that's the case, then please be on your way. The 4 of us will lead the way for you so that no one will disturb you." The two elders of the Serpent God Hall looked at each other and gently sighed. They could only give up on pursuing Jinshin's group and fly toward the divine hall of the Heaven Spirit Hall helplessly. They did not dare to decline or ignore the hall elder's invitation. Just as the two elders of the Serpent God Hall were invited to the Heaven Spirit Hall by the people of the Morning Sun tribe, two saint rulers arrived at the city where Jianshan's group stayed temporarily. They were at the 13th star and the 14th star respectively. They were peak experts from two different tribes. The two saint rulers hovered 1,000 meters in the air and looked down at the city below. One of them said, "This is where the hall elders spoke of. They've probably hidden their presences in the city. The two of us are weaker than them, so it'll be extremely difficult to find them with our strength. Let's go to the city lord's estate." With that, the two saint rulers made their way to the city lord's estate, disappearing in the huge estate in the end. Before long, the city guard were all mobilized. They began a thorough search of every house in the city. A ruckus rang out from the remote in where Jianshan's group stayed. It disturbed Jianshan, who was healing. Jianshan slowly opened his eyes. He frowned slightly as he became stern. At this moment, the door was pushed open. Newbies and Xie Wang walked in wearing blue robes. "Jianshan, there are quite a few soldiers searching outside. Do you think they've come for us?" Newbies asked as soon as he walked in. Jianshan sat on the bed without moving. He slowly nodded and said, "That's right. They've come for us. The hall elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall are looking for us." Newbies' face changed slightly. "What? Hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall? God damn it, we don't even know them. Why are they looking for us for no reason? Don't tell me you've offended the hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall as well," Xie Wang said as he stared at Jianshan and Newbies in doubt. "We have nothing to do with the Heaven Spirit Hall. Are they suddenly looking for us for the same reason as the Serpent God Hall?" Jianshan said slowly. He could not help but think of the mysterious key that shined with intense blue light stored in the artifact space. "I think that's probably the case. The experts of the Heaven Spirit Hall, sure, are resourceful. As soon as we've entered their territory, they've already come looking for us." Newbies was stern. They had just escaped from the Serpent God Hall. Originally, they thought that they would be safe and could find a place to cultivate without any worries. However, they never thought that trouble would come looking for them before they could even rest after entering the Heaven Spirit Hall. They were in trouble once again. "Open the door and search." At this time, a rude shout came from outside the door. The door of the inn was kicked open, and several soldiers wearing special armor walked in from outside. Jianshan, Newbies, and Newbies all looked at the soldiers. Although their gazes were very indifferent, the soldiers immediately felt their hearts tighten when they faced the gazes of saint rulers. It was as if all the air in the surroundings had been sucked away, making it difficult for them to breathe. The captain at the very front forcefully maintained his composure. He glanced past Jianshan, Newbies, and Newbies in fear and said, "We've been ordered to search for criminals. Sorry for the disturbance, warriors. Let's go." The captain did not dare to stay any longer. With a wave of his hand, he left the room with the soldiers behind him. At the same time, he gently closed the door behind him. Afterward, the captain immediately left the inn and hurried to the city lord's estate. Jianshan slowly stood up in the inn and said, "Our exact location has been discovered. How unlucky. How did I run into so much trouble as soon as I followed you? First, the Serpent God Hall hunted me down, and now the Heaven Spirit Hall is searching for us everywhere. If I had known earlier, I would never have followed you here to suffer, even if I couldn't break through to the 15th star," Xie Wang grumbled as he crossed his arms. He was filled with regret. Newbies looked at the resentful Xie Wang and snickered. "It's a pity that you have no other choice, because you've already offended the people of the Serpent God Hall. I don't think the Serpent God Hall will let you go. Even if you hide in the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall, they'll still have ways to take your life. The only way for you to survive now is to follow us. Let's not talk about this right now. Let's go. They've already discovered us, so we can't stay here any longer," Xie Wang sighed. There was no turning back now. Newbies was right. In order to maintain their dignity, the Serpent God Hall would never let go of anyone who opposed them. Jianshan walked to the window and opened it. He stared at the bustling street outside with brimming eyes and said, "The Heaven Spirit Hall has come looking for us for no reason, so it definitely won't be anything good." We can't stay here any longer. We need to leave as soon as possible and go to the territory of the Poseidon Hall. We might be safer there. Are you sure the people of the Poseidon Hall won't make trouble for you? Xia Wang asked in concern. Jianshun hesitated. He could not help but think of the words of the mysterious woman who had given him the water spirit pearl. She had once told him that if he could not stay in the Serpent God Hall any longer, he could go to the territory of the Poseidon Hall. It would be safe there. I think we'll stay in the Poseidon Hall because no one will make trouble for us, Jianshun gently murmured. He believed that the mysterious woman would not harm him. All right, let's hope that's the case. Let's go now, Xia Wang said in a hurry. Xia Wang said anxiously. He really didn't want to stay here for even a moment longer. Every moment he stayed here, there would be more danger. At this moment, two tremendous presences appeared from the city lord's estate. Two figures directly flew towards the inn where Jianshun's group was. They moved very quickly, arriving at the entrance of the inn in just a few seconds. With a slight sway of their bodies, they turned into blurs and climbed up the stairs extremely quickly. They appeared in the room where the three of them were. The two of them were old men in their 60s. They wore blue robes, and their long blue hair was coiled into a bun on top of their heads. Their deep eyes were like the vast starry sky, making it very difficult to tell what they were thinking from their eyes. I am Dawn. Greetings, warriors. I am Tennisk. Greetings, warriors. As soon as the two old men entered the room, they did not allow Jianshun's group to speak. They clasped their hands at them and greeted them. They were extremely friendly. Jianshun's group looked at one another before Jianshun said emotionlessly, "May I ask why the two of you have suddenly come looking for us?" Three brave warriors. The two of us are from two different tribes thousands of miles away. Not long ago, we received a message from the esteemed temple elder. The esteemed temple elder has invited the two of you to the Heaven Spirit Palace, Tennis said with a smile. Please reply to the esteemed hall elder. The three of us are currently busy, so we might not be able to go to the hall right now. However, we will definitely come and apologize in the future, Jianshun said. Dawn and Tennis were troubled. One of them said, "Warrior, that's not very good. This is an invitation personally sent by the esteemed hall elder. How can you refuse? Please tell the hall elder what I just said. The three of us still have matters to attend to, so we'll be leaving first," Jianshun said without any hesitation. He immediately left with newbies and Dawn. Chapter 887. Warriors, I'm afraid it's not very good for you to ignore the esteemed hall elder's invitation, Dawn and Tyynx said with a troubled expression. In the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, receiving an invitation from an esteemed hall elder was a supreme honor. It was a symbol of status. Everyone would be overjoyed by an invitation like that, so they would not turn it down. Dawn and Tyynx were rather surprised that Jianshun's group had firmly rejected the hall elder's invitation. They never thought that this would happen when they came. Jianshun's group no longer paid any attention to Dawn and Tyynx. They directly left the inn after paying the bill. They did not stay for even a moment longer, quickly leaving the city and flying towards the territory of the Poseidon Hall. And Tyynx both frowned heavily as they watched Jianshun's group leave. They would not be able to report back after failing to complete the hall elder's mission. However, with their strength, they could only watch as Jianshun's group left. They dare not stop them at all. What do we do now? How do we report back to the hall elder? Tyynx asked with a heavy voice. Anda gently sighed. Let's just report it as it is. There's nothing else we can do. Afterwards, Anda and Tyynx immediately used special tools to contact the hall elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall. They reported everything that had happened here to the hall elders. 5 hall elders had already gathered in the huge, floating divine hall in the center of the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall. They had all received orders from the hall master to investigate the abyssal crystal, so they had all gathered together to discuss the matter. Very good. The 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall are already on their way to our Heaven Spirit Hall. That way, we can find the people they're pursuing before they do and see if our guesses are correct. If the abyssal crystal really is with the 3 of them, we've done a great service, said a middle-aged man. The one who spoke was a refined middle-aged man. He wore a white robe and looked gentle and refined. He looked like a scholar who had read a lot of books and poems. The middle-aged man was called Muhi. He was a hall elder of the Serpent God Hall, one of the peak experts only below the hallmaster. An old man beside Mu, he closed his eyes slightly. Soon after, he sneered, "I just received a message. I sent people to invite the three of them, but not only did they refuse, they even fled. They don't dare to come to my heaven's spirit hall. It looks like there really is something wrong with the three of them. If that's the case, let's send the elders over quickly. We have to keep them here," Muhi nonchalantly said. "I have already sent 2 elders and several envoys to rush there. However, due to the distance, it will take some time for them to get there. For now, let's just sit here quietly and wait. I believe there will be good news soon." Jianshun, newbies, and Xia Wang flew through the air as quickly as they could. Jianshun had already made a full recovery after using a strand of his Radiant Saint Force origin energy. His battle prowess had reached his peak once again. Jianshun, Heiyu, and Xia Wang knew that both the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall had supreme secret techniques that could find them. It was useless no matter how they tried to hide their presences, even if they hid in the artifact space. As a result, they did not try to hide themselves along the way. They flew over countless tribes of various sizes as they radiated with tremendous presences. They directly flew toward the territory of the Poseidon Hall. Every tribe and clan in the Sea Realm treated their territory with great importance. They forbade anyone from flying over their territory without their permission, or it would be a blatant provocation. They would never let the matter rest. As a result, Jianshun, Heiyu, and Xia Wang offended many tribes and clans along the way. However, these organizations were not particularly powerful. As soon as they sensed their presences, which had basically reached the peak of the 14th star, they immediately fell silent. They no longer dared to pursue their unreasonable actions. However, not all organizations had supreme experts who feared the three of them. When the three of them flew over the territory of a large clan with lightning-like speed, a roar immediately rang out. An old man flew up from below with a tremendous presence, furiously chasing after Jianshun, Xia Wang, and Xia Wang. "Insolent juniors, how dare you so arrogantly barge into my Shun Yu clan's territory? You're simply looking down on my Shun Yu clan. All of you, stay here and report your identities. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." He fused with the surrounding space and used spatial force to chase after Jianshun. He was several times faster than Jianshun, Xia Wang, and Xia Wang. The Shunyue clan was a peak tribe that spanned several 100,000 kilometers. It was equivalent to an ancient clan on the Tianyuan continent. They possessed a holy emperor, making them renowned. 15th star Poseidon warrior. Xia Wang's face changed slightly when he sensed the tremendous presence from the old man. The three of them knew that they could not outrun the holy emperor, so they all stopped. Newbies stared at the ancestor of the Shunyue clan with a sunken face. He cursed. "A mere holy emperor at the first heavenly layer dares to be so arrogant? Get your great-grandpa Newbies to teach you a lesson." Newbies' battle intent surged as he charged toward the ancestor with an unstoppable presence. The ancestor of the Shunyue clan thought that the three of them had stopped because they had been frightened by the 15th star Poseidon warrior. He secretly rejoiced inside, but just when he was about to yell out, he saw Newbies charge toward him aggressively. A cold light flashed through the ancestor's eyes as he sneered. "Good timing. Brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth dares to challenge a 15-star Poseidon warrior at the peak of the 14th star. Today, I'll let you experience the power of a 15th-star Poseidon warrior." With that, the ancestor threw a punch at Newbies. Newbies was fearless. His fist turned golden in an instant and collided with the ancestor's fist with great force. Boom! The two people's fists almost shattered the void, causing it to violently tremble. The aftershocks of the fists reached below, causing the earth to shake. Countless weeds and trees were pulverized by the aftershocks. After the punch, Newbies and the ancestors' bodies were as still as mountains. They hovered there steadily as they engaged in an intense battle once again. The old man has underestimated you. I never thought that your battle prowess would be no weaker than a regular 15th star despite being at the peak of the 14th star. However, do you think you can beat the old man just like that? The ancestor growled before freezing the surrounding space with his mind, trapping newbies inside. Newbies spat out a mouthful of poisonous gas that enveloped the ancestor. He waved his hands like claws, shattering the frozen space around him. The ancestor was caught off guard and inhaled a mouthful of poison. His expression immediately changed. The venom of the golden-striped silver snake was extremely potent. Even though he was a holy emperor, he still felt dizzy for a moment. In that instant, Newbies' claws had already left behind over a dozen deep wounds on the ancestor's body. The wounds turned black as black blood flowed out. They had already been contaminated with the venom from Newbies' claws. The ancestor of the Shunyue clan miserably shrieked. At that moment, his face finally changed. His gaze toward Newbies was filled with fear. He had never thought that he would be injured by a mere 14-star junior despite being a 15-star expert. Moreover, his injuries were so severe. Leave. My Shunyue clan won't pursue the matter of you trespassing on our territory, the ancestor said loudly. He no longer had the will to fight and quickly retreated. Newbies licked the blood on his hand. The pungent smell of blood awakened the sliver of brutality that belonged to a magical beast in his bloodline. He sneered, the great Newbies have never personally killed a holy emperor. Since you've come looking for me, then become the first soul of a holy emperor to die at the hands of the great Newbies. At this moment, Jinshin's expression suddenly changed as he watched the battle from afar. He called out, Newbies, come back. They've already caught up. We can't waste any more time. Newbies' expression changed slightly with that. He no longer cared about the ancestor of the Shunyue clan and immediately fled back to the territory of the Poseidon Hall with Jinshin and the others. The three of them fled for another hour before the experts of the Heaven Spirit Hall finally caught up to them. They blocked Jinshin's path. Although only 2 elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall had come, they were both at the 3rd heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. Their battle prowess was extremely great, and even Newbies could not contend against them. The 2 elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall did not immediately take action. Instead, they calmly observed the 3 of them. However, their eyes soon narrowed as they said in surprise, Ruler's aura? There are actually 2 people with Ruler's aura. Ruler's aura would only appear on the ruler of a certain race. Not only did it represent the highest leader of a race, but it was also a symbol of status and strength. In the sea realm, royal clans were equivalent to ancient beasts among magical beasts. Not only were golden-striped silver snakes extremely rare, but they also had a lot of room for growth. Their battle prowess was even more shocking, far surpassing opponents of the same level of strength. However, other than clansmen of the same race, only the secret techniques of the 3 halls could sense the ruler's aura. Everyone else was unable to sense it. We've actually seen 2 people with ruler's aura at once. The 2 elders of the Heavens Spirit Hall rejoiced. They knew extremely well that people with ruler's aura would definitely become hall elders in the future. There was even a great chance for them to become supreme existences like emperors. Chapter 888. No wonder the esteemed hall elder has sent the 2 of us to invite these people who are only at the 14th star. So 2 of them actually possess the extremely rare ruler's presence. At that moment, the 2 elders of the Heavens Spirit Hall thought of that at the same time. Afterward, their gazes towards Jinshin and Newbies became even gentler. They already believed that the esteemed hall elder wanted to invite Jinshin's group to join the Heaven Spirit Hall and had sent the 2 of them personally to express their sincerity. After all, only 15-star experts would be able to express the Heaven Spirit Hall sincerity if they wanted to invite people who possessed the ruler's presence. Esteemed rulers, the hall elder of our Heaven Spirit Hall wishes to invite the 2 of you to our Heaven Spirit Hall as guests. An elder of the Heavens Spirit Hall clasped his hands at Jinshin and Newbies. His old face was filled with smiles. and he was only polite to Jianshun and newbies. He did not even glance at Xiaowang. Jianshun, newbies looked at each other sternly. Newbies asked through a communication technique. Jianshun, what do we do? We definitely can't go to the Heaven Spirit Hall. Kill. Killing intent flashed through Jianshun's eyes as he replied through a communication technique. Newbies' eyes turned cold. He no longer hesitated as powerful battle intent surged from his chest. He directly charged at the two Holy Emperor experts. Although Newbies was not the opponent of either one of them, he could still stall for time for a short period of time. At the same time, Jianshun rapidly retreating several hundred meters in a single instance. Afterward, he formed a seal with his hands and raised his head high. He pointed his forehead at the sky and called out, God's descent. Jianshun and Newbies did not even have the ability to flee against two Holy Emperor experts of the third heavenly layer. They could only escape by using forbidden techniques. Rulers, what is the meaning of this? Faced with Newbies' attack, the two elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall were confused. For a moment, they only blocked and did not counterattack. They had no idea about the abyssal crystal at all. They only thought that the Hall elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall wanted to recruit the two of them to the Heaven Spirit Hall. As a result, they did not dare to offend the two of them too much, afraid that the two of them would make an issue out of them once they became successful. At this moment, the light between heaven and earth suddenly became intense. In the sky, a milky white light suddenly appeared, rapidly passing through the seawater above and pressing down, rendering the sea world's eternal deep blue into a snow-white color. What is this? The two Hall elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall raised their heads to look at the sky. Disbelief filled their faces. Even with the entire Tian Yuan continent in perspective, very few people had seen God's descent before, let alone the people of the sea race who had basically never set foot outside the sea realm. Even though they were Holy Emperor experts, they had never heard of God's descent before. After Newbies' resistance, Jianshun had finished charging his God's descent. He formed another seal with his hand and gently said, I will use 500 years of my life as the price. Forbidden technique, God's descent. With that, the milky white light in the sky suddenly exploded. It shone brightly, illuminating most of the sea realm. Afterward, a huge pillar of white light fell from the sky, enveloping a radius of several dozen kilometers. The original laws of the world in the region enveloped by the pillar of white light were disrupted, forming new laws. The mysteries of the laws clearly appeared in Jianshun's head, allowing Jianshun to control everything as he wished. At that moment, Jianshun seemed to have become the ruler of the world, a supreme god. Whether it was Newbies, Xiaowang, or the two Hall elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall, they all discovered that they had lost all their saint ruler abilities within the domain. They could no longer control the world force and the mysteries of space. What is this place? What are you trying to do? One of the Hall elders of the Heavens Spirit Hall growled. The two of them could sense that something was wrong now that the situation had developed like this. However, they could not understand why the two people with the ruler's chi would attack them no matter what. Jianshun said nothing. He knew that if he wanted to leave the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall, he needed to eliminate the two Holy Emperor before him. Otherwise, no one could guarantee that the two of them would not forcefully take them away. Jianshun fused with the world, perfectly fusing with it. He controlled the laws of the world with his mind. He extended a finger, and the space before him rippled like water. Immediately, two visible ripples shot toward the two Holy Emperor. They want to kill us. The two elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall both cried out. Now that their lives were in danger, they no longer cared about Jianshun and Xiaowang's status as rulers. They both took out their weapons to block. Both of their weapons were identical tridents. The tridents were swung out abruptly, sending out two crescent-shaped streams of energy towards the incoming ripples. The ripples were formed from the power of the laws of the world. They directly devoured the crescent-shaped chi from the two Holy Emperors' slashes and passed through their chests with lightning-like speed. Silently, a bowl-sized hole was melted into their chests. No blood flowed out from the wounds caused by the laws of the world. However, the wounds were unable to heal. The two elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall both grunted. They looked at Jianshan in shock. They could sense that Jianshan had become extremely terrifying right now. "We can't stay here any longer. Let's leave quickly," one of the elders said with a heavy voice before decisively fleeing. The other elder did not hesitate either. They split up and fled in another direction. "Unless you can break through this domain, none of you will be able to leave without my permission." Jinshin's cold voice rang out in the two elders' ears. "We didn't provoke you. Why do you want to kill us?" One of the elders asked sternly. "Ever since you called me to the Heaven's Spirit Hall, you've already provoked us. I think if we don't go, the two of you will forcefully take us away." Jinshin's vague voice rang out in the two of their ears. At that moment, the two elders no longer said anything. This was because they really did have such a plan in mind. The order from the Divine Hall Elder was to bring the three of them back to the Tianling continent. If they couldn't convince Jianshan with good words, then they could only forcefully bring Jianshan back in order to complete the Divine Hall Elder's mission. However, Jianshan, Xiaowang, and Xiaowang's reactions had completely exceeded their expectations. Jinshin's eyes immediately turned cold when he saw their expressions. Killing intent surged in him as he softly said, "Annihilation." The clothes of the two elders, who were at the third heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor, were instantly ripped to shreds. They turned into dust that scattered through the air before disappearing. Immediately after, their flesh began to crack like broken porcelain. The cracks spread rapidly and soon covered every corner of their bodies. Bright red blood flowed out from their bodies and dyed them red. The intense pain made the two of them cry out uncontrollably. Afterwards, boundless energy immediately surged out from their bodies, condensing into a layer of armor that blocked the invasion of the mysterious energy. "God damn it, what the hell is this? We can't waste any more time here. Let's leave quickly." The strange domain and the strange energy had already made the two elders want to retreat. They no longer dared to stay any longer, so they sped up and fled. Jianshin would not let them go. He extended a finger, and two more ripples formed from the power of the laws of the world shot toward the two of them with lightning speed. Just when the two elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall wanted to dodge, the space in the surroundings suddenly froze, binding the two of them tightly. Spurt! The power of the laws of the world directly pierced their foreheads, injuring their souls. The injuries to their souls brought intense pain to the two elders, causing them to cry out uncontrollably. Their voices were filled with endless pain. "You're actually still alive." Jianshan bathed in the white light. He seemed like a god that had descended to the mortal world, sacred and inviolable. He gently extended his right hand, and two more strands of the power of the laws of the world shot out, piercing their souls once more. The two elders clutched their heads tightly as they rolled on the ground in pain. The souls of Holy Emperor experts had become extremely powerful, so they were still alive despite being heavily injured twice. Even so, their primordial spirits had become extremely weak. Just at this moment, two huge palms instantly condensed above the two elders' heads. Then, they descended like lightning and ruthlessly slapped the two elders' heads. The two elders immediately stopped screaming. Their heads had cracked as blood flowed from their orifices. Their eyes rapidly dimmed as well. This palm strike had directly dispersed their heavily injured primordial spirits, causing them to perish in both form and spirit. Just like that, two supreme experts who had reached the third heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor had died to Jianshin's god's descent. With the deaths of the two elders, Jianshin stopped maintaining the god's descent. The milky white light that illuminated the surroundings gradually dispersed, and the surroundings returned to normal. Jianshin had become pale. He had lost 500 years of his life in an instant, so his body was unable to withstand it for a short period of time. He became extremely weak and felt powerless. Even moving a finger was extremely difficult. Afterwards, he fell from the sky. Newbies arrived before Jianshin in a flash and caught Jianshin's falling body. He stared at Jianshan sternly and said, "You've lost another 500 years of your life. Including that time outside, you've lost 1,000 years of your life." Jianshan smiled. "It's fine. As long as I can deal with the two of them, it doesn't matter even if I lose a little bit of my life. Once I break through again, I'll be able to gain another 3,000 years of life." Fortunately, the two of them haven't grasped any Saint-tier battle skills, or it definitely wouldn't have been so easy for me to kill them. Let's not talk about that right now. Let's leave quickly. I think the experts of the Heaven Spirit Hall will come after us again before long. Newbie said sternly before arriving before the two experts in a flash. With a wave of his hand, he took away the space rings on their fingers before leaving with Jianshan on his back. "Evil King, stop spacing out. Let's go." Newbies reminded the Evil King when he passed by him. The Evil King shuddered and finally returned to his senses. He stared at the bodies of the two experts from the Heaven's Spirit Hall in fright. The shock in his heart had reached its limit. He could not say anything at all. He had never thought that Jianshan, who he originally thought to be weaker than Newbies, would actually possess such terrifying abilities. He had actually killed two 15-star experts all by himself in such a short amount of time. This greatly shocked him. In the huge temple of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, 5 elders were sitting there quietly, waiting for news. At this moment, one of the elders suddenly stood up and cried out, "Oh no, the 2 elders I sent have been killed." Chapter 889. What did you say, Luo Fu? 2 elders have been killed? How is that possible? Who is bold enough to kill elders of our Heaven's Spirit Hall? Was it the people of the Serpent God Hall? The hall elders in the hall all stood up. They were all furious. The death of 2 15-star elders was a heavy loss to the Heaven's Spirit Hall. After all, there were not as many 15-star experts as 14-star experts. Every single 15-star expert was a peak force of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Losing even one would cause the Heaven's Spirit Hall quite a bit of heartache. Hall Elder Luo Fu shook his head and said, "The souls I left on them have already vanished. Through my senses, the 2 of them seem to have died to the hands of the 3 people being hunted down by the elders of the Serpent God Hall. How is that possible? How did they kill 2 15th-star elders with their strength as 14th-star Poseidon warriors? How did they do it? Have they all grasped Tian-level Saint techniques?" An elder involuntarily cried out. Disbelief filled his face. "I don't know how they did it, but before the 2 elders died, I lost my connection to the life spirit for a period of time. It seemed to have entered another space. When I regained my connection to the life spirit, the 2 of them were already dead. I think the 3 of them must have used some unknown method to kill the 2 elders," Luo Fu said in a low voice. Since the 2 15-star elders can't bring the 3 of them back, let's get the 16-star elders to go as well. Pass down the order of the 5 hall elders to have the 3 law enforcement elders go together. They must bring the 3 of them back," ordered the hall elder Himu. The 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall were all renowned experts. They were all at the 5th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. On the Tian Yuan continent, probably only the 10 protector clans in Mercenary City possessed the ability to send out 3 Holy Emperor 5th heavenly layer experts at the same time. However, the number of Holy Emperor 5th heavenly layer experts among them was nowhere near as great as any of the divine halls in the Sea Realm. This was because the Sea Realm was much more powerful than the Tian Yuan continent. Whether it was the Holy Emperor or the number of saint rulers, the Tian Yuan continent could not compare to them. At the same time, there were only 3 peak powers in the Sea Realm. Basically, all the experts here belonged to the 3 great halls, while there were 11 peak powers on the Tian Yuan continent. As a result, even if the 4 protector clans worked together, they would not be able to match up to a single divine hall. At the same time, Hall Elders Charlie and Bai Yin sat in the Serpent God Hall have an ugly expression. They had received a message from the 2 elders who had been sent to kill Jianshan's group. And the situation: why did the Hall Elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall invite 2 regular elders of our Serpent God Hall for no reason? Have they discovered the secret of the Abyssal Crystal, so they came up with this idea to keep the 2 elders busy? Bai Yin said with a heavy voice. His face was sunken. I think it's very likely. The matter of the abyssal crystal is extremely important. Should we gather the other hall elders and discuss this matter together? Charlie was stern. There's no hurry for now. We've never been on good terms with them. If they learn that we've made such a huge mistake, I'm worried that they'll kick us while we're down and make things difficult for us. They just happen to be cultivating in seclusion right now. So the two of us hold the greatest authority in the Serpent God Hall. There's still room for improvement. I'll immediately send the 4 divine generals, Bai Yin said with a heavy voice. There were a total of 4 divine generals. Every single one of them was at the 5th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. They were 16th star warriors of the Poseidon. The white-clothed Qing Yishuan walked out of the hall in high spirits within the territory of the Poseidon Hall. With the assistance of the pool of samsara, she had completely recovered from her wounds. Even the troublesome poison that newbies had left in her body had been purged. Qing Yishuan moved through the large divine hall with great familiarity with the medallion. She would see hall emissaries come and go from time to time along the way. All of them looked at Qing Yishuan with a sliver of respect. This was respect for an expert. Although Qing Yishuan was human, she had already lived in the sea realm for many years. She had come here when she was a saint ruler and had been living with the sea race ever since. She had reached her current level of cultivation and become one of the 8 great human experts of the sea realm. She maintained good relations with the Poseidon Hall, having the hall as her backer. Now, Qing Yishuan had vaguely become a member of the Poseidon Hall. Although she had not formally joined the Poseidon Hall, she had done many things for the hall, so she was basically a member of the Poseidon Hall now. Qing Yishuan passed through various halls and arrived in a rather ordinary side hall in the end. 3 people sat there with their eyes closed as if they were waiting for something. Among the 3, one of them was a middle-aged man. From his appearance, he seemed to be around 40 years old. The middle-aged man wore a black suit, and his resolute face was covered with black hair that covered his entire face. His figure was very tall and sturdy, with a tiger's back and a bear's waist. His entire body was dark, and he looked like a black bear. The other 2 were white-robed old men. They had white hair and ruddy complexions. They seemed sage-like like immortals. They possessed an otherworldly presence. The 2 old men were the ones who had stopped the pursuers for Qing Yishuan when she had gone to steal the map fragment of the 8 wastelands, giving her precious time to escape. As soon as Qing Yishuan entered the hall, the 3 people sitting in the hall opened their eyes at the same time. Their gazes all landed on Qing Yishuan, who was naturally beautiful. Qing Yishuan stopped in the center of the hall. She stared at the burly, middle-aged man without any emotion. She said, "Late Batian, the Hall Master has sent me to find you. Let's go to the territory of the Heavens Spirit Hall together. May I ask what the mission is this time?" Lei Batian was one of the 5 renowned experts of the magical beasts in the Sea Realm. His strength had reached the 6th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. He was a mutated black bear with extremely great battle prowess, second only to beasts of antiquity. Lei Batian stood up from the ground and said in a low, muffled voice, "The Hall Master wants us to go to the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall and bring back a few people safely. Since we're all here, let's set off right now." Lei Batian, just who are they for the Hall Master to personally order us to bring them back? Said an old man. He was one of the 8 human experts who stood on the same level as Qing Yishuan, Mo Xiren. Hearing Mo Xiren's words, the other human expert, Oyun, looked at Lei Batian as well. Clearly, he was curious about the identities of these people. Lei Batian shook his head. "Don't ask me. I don't know who they are either. The Hall Master only gave me the method to find them. If you want to know who they are, you'll know once you find them. I've just recovered from my injuries. Once the mission is complete, I won't be coming back with you. I have other important matters to attend to in the Serpent God Hall," Qing Yishuan said coldly. Her face was frosty. A sliver of curiosity involuntarily appeared on Lei Batian's face when he saw Qing Yishuan's sunken face. He said in a muffled voice, "Qing Yishuan, why do I feel like you've become a different person? What happened?" Mo Xiren and Oyun could not help but smile when they heard that. Ziren chuckled. Looks like Lei Batian still doesn't know about that. Qing Yishuan went to steal the map fragment of the 8 wastelands a few days ago and only managed to take it back after a tremendous amount of effort. However, 2 juniors who came out of nowhere ambushed her in the final moment and stole the map fragment from her. The 2 juniors were only Saint rulers. Something like that happened? Those 2 juniors sure are bold. They actually dared to steal something from one of the 8 great human experts. Lei Batian was surprised. A faint smile appeared on his face as he thought. No wonder Qing Yishuan's face is so sunken. She's a mighty 5th heavenly layer Saint King, but 2 Saint rulers have actually stolen something from her. That's embarrassing. Lei Batian, Ziren, and Oyun only knew that Qing Yishuan had lost the map fragment of the 8 wastelands to the 2 juniors. If they learned that not only had the map fragment of the 8 wastelands been stolen, but there was also another personal item, who knew what their expressions would be like? Qing Yishuan's face darkened even more as she listened to their discussion. She clenched her fists tightly as rage and killing intent burned in her eyes. She gritted her teeth and said, I will definitely find the 2 of them and tear them to pieces with my own hands to vent my anger. Lei Batian sniggered. You can go find your enemies after you complete the Hall Master's mission. All right, since everyone's here, let's set off. Afterward, the 4 of them left the Poseidon Hall and hurried to the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Although the 4 of them were working for the Poseidon Hall, they had not officially become a part of the Poseidon Hall. As a result, they could enter and leave the 3 territories as they pleased. The 3 territories of the Sea Realm only forbade the people of the Divine Hall from entering without permission. The clans, tribes, or some other people were not restricted. Within the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, Jianshan, newbies, and Xie Wang continued to flee as if their lives depended on it. Although they had killed the 2 holy emperor experts of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, they knew that the danger they faced had not been resolved. Instead, it had become even more severe as the enemies chasing after them would only become stronger and stronger. The 3 of them flew towards the territory of the Poseidon Hall in a straight line. During this time, Jinshin expanded the senses of his soul from time to time, observing the surroundings. At the same time, he checked the strength of the tribes they passed by. In order to save time, whenever they passed by a small tribe, they would fly over it fearlessly, taking the shortest route to the Poseidon Hall. However, whenever they came across a large tribe with a holy emperor expert, they would avoid them from afar and take a detour to avoid causing unnecessary trouble along the way and wasting time. Chapter 890. After 2 days of travel, Jinshin's group had already traveled several 100,000 kilometers. They were currently at the edge of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, so they were still over 200,000 kilometers away from the Poseidon Hall. This was the speed newbies and Xie Wang could travel with their strength as 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers and their control over spatial force. If Jianshan had traveled with his speed, he would probably have only been able to cover a third of the distance in the same amount of time. We'll be able to enter the territory of the Poseidon Hall in another half a day. We'll be safe then and won't need to worry about being hunted down, Newbie said as he traveled with Jianshin. However, he would glance behind from time to time as a gleam of light flashed through his eyes. There were several Saint Rulers pursuing the 3 of them. They were all at the 8th and 9th Heavenly Layer of Saint Ruler, and they belonged to different tribes. Newbies, Xie Wang, and Xie Wang flew over many tribes fearlessly, which was a blatant provocation. As a result, a few experts who believed themselves to be powerful chased after them. They wanted to seek an explanation from Jinshin's group and regain their dignity. Newbies, Xie Wang, and Xie Wang did not pay too much attention to the pursuers because they no longer had the time to deal with them. Their priority was to reach the territory of the Poseidon Hall as soon as possible. At this moment, 3 tremendous presences rapidly expanded from behind. 3 old men flew toward the 3 of them with lightning-like speed. The 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall had already caught up to Jinshin's group. Jianshan, Xie Wang, and Xiaowang did not have the ability to flee when they were pursued by the Holy Emperor, who was at the fifth heavenly layer. They were blocked off very soon. The three disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall were all old men. They wore the same set of black robes and were dignified. Tremendous presences revolved around them, causing the surroundings to tremble. They were extremely terrifying. The saint rulers of the various clans approached as well. They all looked at the three disciplinary elders in black robes. The tremendous presence that radiated from the disciplinary elders made them all shiver inside. They knew that the three old men's strength had reached an extremely terrifying level. However, their gazes soon landed on the red chain badges on the chests of the three disciplinary elders. Their faces immediately changed, and they bowed to the three disciplinary elders. Greetings to the disciplinary elders. The three disciplinary elders stared at Jianshan and newbies. A strange light flickered through their eyes, and one of them waved his hand at the saint rulers pursuing Jianshan's group. He said, "There's nothing for you here. You can leave now." Yes, disciplinary elders. The saint rulers of the various tribes did not dare to disobey. They bowed to the three disciplinary elders before retreating far away. However, they did not leave. Instead, they watched from 10 kilometers away. They all wanted to see just what had happened, that the three disciplinary elders had moved out at the same time. The light in Jianshan's eyes flickered. Through his senses, he could already tell that the three disciplinary elders were no weaker than Ling Yuanzi and Bai Yifei from the Yuan sect. They were much more powerful than the two elders who had died to his god's descent. Looks like I can only use the god's descent again. If I use 1,000 years of my lifespan, I should be able to kill the three of them. A gleam of light flickered through Jianshan's eyes. He could only use the god's descent now to escape from the three disciplinary elders, because he had already killed 2 elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall. The enmity between him and the Heaven Spirit Hall was already set in stone, and it would be very difficult to resolve. However, the price of 1,000 years of his lifespan was just too great, which made Jianshan rather hesitant. He had already used the god's descent twice before, so he had already shaved off 1,000 years of his lifespan. If he shaved off another 1,000 years of his lifespan, he would lose an entire 2,000 years. He would be left with less than 1,000 years. Ruler's presence. There are actually 2 people with ruler's presence. The 3 disciplinary elders constantly looked at Jianshan and newbies. Their faces were filled with shock. Were the 2 elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall killed by you? A while later, one of the disciplinary elders asked Jianshan's group, "That's right, we killed them. You must have come to avenge them." Jianshan was expressionless. He was already prepared to use the god's descent at any time. The 3 disciplinary elders gently shook their heads. One of them said, "The 3 of us won't make things difficult for you, but the hall elders want to see you. Please come with us. If you're willing to join our Heaven Spirit Hall, I believe the hall elders will no longer pursue the matter of you killing 2 elders of our Heaven Spirit Hall." With that, the 3 disciplinary elders arrived before Jianshan's group at the same time. Before they could agree, they struck out without any hesitation. One by one, they directly extended their hands towards Jianshan's group. A sliver of determination appeared in Jianshan's eyes. He immediately formed a seal with his hands and raised his head, about to use the god's descent. However, in the final moment, Jianshan's eyes suddenly narrowed. His lips curled into a faint sneer, and he stopped using the god's descent. Another 4 vast presences rapidly spread out from the distance. As 4 whistles rang out, 4 figures rapidly approached with unbelievable speed. In the previous moment, they were still on the horizon, but in the next moment, they had already stopped in front of the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall. They faced each other with a distance of 20 meters between them. The 4 of them were 2 middle-aged men and 2 old men. They wore blue robes that were embroidered with 4 lifelike serpents. The eyes of the serpents were bright red, and their faces were vicious and terrifying. Their exposed, sharp teeth flickered with a chilling light, causing people to shiver. The appearance of the 4 people made the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall suddenly change in expression. One of them immediately yelled out, "For divine generals of the Serpent God Hall, how dare you trespass on the territory of our Heaven's Spirit Hall as a member of the Divine Hall?" The three disciplinary elders were clearly extremely fearful of the four divine generals of the Serpent God Hall. The Divine Hall elders have already communicated with your Heaven's Spirit Hall. Our Serpent God Hall is pursuing our enemies, so we can enter the territory of your Heaven's Spirit Hall, the Divine General of the Serpent God Hall said indifferently. Afterwards, he looked at Jianshin's group of three who had been captured by the three disciplinary elders. He said, "The three of them are the enemies of our Serpent God Hall. I hope the three disciplinary elders can hand them over to us. As long as we complete the mission, the three of us will immediately leave the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall." No, the three of them killed two elders of our Heaven's Spirit Hall recently, so they're also criminals of our Heaven's Spirit Hall. We've come under the orders of the Divine Hall elders to take them back and let the Divine Hall elders deal with them. We can't hand them over to you, one of the disciplinary elders said with a heavy voice. He did not back down at all. We must take them away. The four divine generals of the Serpent God Hall said emotionlessly. With that, a powerful presence radiated from the four of them, expressing their determination to fight. If that's the case, we can only fight. The three disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall refused to back down. They radiated with surging battle intent and threw Jianshin's group of three far away at the same time. They took out their weapons and began fighting against the four divine generals of the Serpent God Hall. The battle between 7 holy emperor experts at the 5th heavenly layer was extremely spectacular. As soon as they clashed, terrifying shockwaves of energy swept through the surroundings, enveloping a radius of several dozen kilometers. Jianshan, newbies, and Xia Wang were immediately affected by the shockwaves of the battle. They were all blown far away by the violent shockwaves. Xia Wang, on the other hand, paled slightly due to his fragile body. He had been injured by the shockwaves of the battle. Although Jianshan was weaker than Xia Wang, his body's defense was much stronger than Xia Wang's. When the powerful shockwaves of the battle struck him like a huge boulder, he was only slightly shaken up. It did not affect him much. Newbies, on the other hand, was unscathed. He had already taken half a step into the Holy Emperor realm, so his overall strength was equivalent to a 1st or 2nd heavenly layer Holy Emperor. It was very difficult for the shockwaves of a battle between 5th heavenly layer Holy Emperor experts to harm him. The saint rulers who had chased after Jianshan and had stopped 10 kilometers away were not as relaxed as Jianshan and the others. The 9th heavenly layer saint rulers all retreated with pale faces, while the remaining 8th heavenly layer saint rulers all began to bleed from the corner of their mouths. Their injuries were even more severe. The battle domain of the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall had already been filled with violent ripples of energy. The space there trembled violently and became blurry. It had already drowned out their figures. What are you still standing around for? Let's go. Newbies immediately pulled Jianshin and Xia Wang away. Even though the battle between the Holy Emperor experts was extremely interesting, the three of them were in no mood to enjoy it. I really am unlucky. I'm done for. I've actually offended the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall at the same time. If I offend the Poseidon Hall as well, there won't be any place for us in the vast sea realm anymore. Following you really was the stupidest choice I've ever made, Xia Wang cursed. He felt extremely wronged. As soon as he had been tempted by Jianshin's divine water of the world to follow Jianshin, he had been hunted down by the experts of the Serpent God Hall. He had managed to escape from the Serpent God Hall to the Heaven's Spirit Hall after so much difficulty. But before he could even rest, he was hunted down by the experts of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. In the end, even the renowned disciplinary elders and divine generals of the 2 halls had been provoked, which almost drove him crazy. Although these days were exciting enough, they were just too exciting. Just when Jianshin and the others had fled 100 kilometers away, a divine general of the Serpent God Hall charged out of the battlefield and quickly flew toward the 3 of them. "Don't let them take them away," a disciplinary elder of the Heaven's Spirit Hall yelled out. Afterwards, he gave up on his opponent and charged out of the battlefield as well, pursuing the divine general of the Serpent God Hall. I'm your opponent. Stay here. The 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall possessed the numerical advantage, so one of them immediately caught up and kept the disciplinary elder busy. When the disciplinary elder saw the divine general get closer and closer to Jinshin's group, he could not help but panic. He knew that once the divine general took away Jinshin's group, while the 3 of them were kept busy by the other 3 divine generals, they would not be able to complete the mission the Hall Elder had given them. When he thought of that, a cold light flashed through the disciplinary elder's eyes. He immediately bellowed out, 9 palms wave, overlaying palm. The 9 palms wave, overlaying palm was a saint technique that he had created himself. Its power had already surpassed heaven-tier battle skills, reaching the level of sub-saint battle skills. The disciplinary elder struck out 9 times in a row. As the 9 palms stacked together, their power constantly increased. In particular, the final palm strike was even more powerful. It had basically combined all the power of the previous 8 palms. The divine general of the Serpent God Hall successfully received the first 5 palms, but from the 6th to the 8th, his face had already become rather pale. A sliver of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. When the 9th palm strike arrived, the divine general was immediately heavily injured. He was blown away while vomiting blood. Chapter 891. A disciplinary elder heavily injured a divine general of the Serpent God Hall with his self-created quasi-level saint technique before immediately flying off in pursuit of the divine general who had charged towards Jinshin's trio. The divine general could no longer care about Jinshin's trio now that he was facing a powerful enemy. The veins on his arms bulged, bursting out of his sleeves as they rapidly expanded. In a single instance, they turned into 2 thick, sharp claws that flickered with cold light. They were extremely tough. The 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall were all serpents, so their most powerful weapons were their claws that could shatter metal. After one of the divine generals turned his hands into claws, he immediately swung them at the disciplinary elder who was pursuing them. The disciplinary elder's weapon was a 5-meter-long spear. Extremely powerful ripples of energy wrapped around the spear as it stabbed out with lightning speed, engaging in an intense battle with the divine general. At this moment, the divine general who had been injured by the disciplinary elder's quasi-level saint technique flew back with a pale face. He glanced at the disciplinary elder who was being held back by his companion and coldly said, "The quasi-level saint technique is not a true heaven-level saint technique after all. If you had created a true heaven-level saint technique, I would have been heavily injured even if I didn't die. What a pity. Emoyen, keep him busy. I'll go take the 3 of them away. Leave his person to me. Take the 3 of them away. This is the territory of the Heavens Spirit Hall. We can't stay here for too long, or it'll be troublesome once their other experts arrive." The divine general of the Serpent God Hall, called Mo Yin, said with a heavy voice. With that, the divine general who had been injured by the quasi-level saint technique did not hesitate at all. He immediately flew towards Jinshin's trio. "Don't even think about taking them away in the territory of my Heaven Spirit Hall." Overlapping 9 palms. The disciplinary elder who had been held back by Mo Yin called out and used the quasi-level saint technique again. "Don't think that you're the only one who knows quasi-level saint techniques. I know several as well. Although I didn't create them myself, they're not much weaker than yours. Check out my Wrath of the Serpent Dragon." Mo Yin roared out at the sky as tremendous energy condensed into a visible storm that constantly revolved around him. In the end, it turned into a huge pitch-black serpent dragon that was several hundred meters long. The serpent dragon was completely condensed from energy. The terrifying energy within it shook the surroundings, causing space to tremble and space to collapse. The energy was so great that it almost surpassed the limits of the space there, causing tiny cracks to appear in the surrounding space. Moreover, this was happening in the Sea Race's world, where space was much more stable than the outside world. If such an intense battle happened in the outside world, perhaps space would have already collapsed. Roar! The serpent dragon roared out at the sky. The terrifying sound waves caused Jinshin's trio's ears to ache slightly. Afterwards, it turned into a black streak of light and charged toward the disciplinary elder with an unstoppable presence. It collided with the elder's overlapping 9 palms, producing a deafening boom. Terrifying ripples of energy wreaked havoc in the surroundings as if they wanted to destroy the world. The battle between the 2 other disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the divine general of the Serpent God Hall had reached a climax as well. They both used their full strength, and each clash would produce a great boom. The battle was extremely grand and earth-shaking. The 3 disciplinary elders were all held back by the 3 divine generals, so they could not pay any attention to Jinshin's trio at all. They could only watch as a divine general rapidly approached them. "Let's split up," Jinshin called out before the 3 of them immediately fled in different directions. However, the difference between them and the divine general of the Serpent God Hall was just too great. Even though he was injured, he was still extremely powerful. In just a short while, Jinshin's trio had been captured by the divine general. "You're dreaming if you think you can escape from us 4 divine generals with your strength. Since you want to run so badly, I might as well beat you up until you're heavily injured. Let's see if you still have the strength to run." The divine general who had captured Jinshin's trio sneered before, throwing 3 palm strikes at them. The terrifying force directly surged into the bodies of Jinshin's trio, pulverizing their organs. Spurt, spurt, spurt. The 3 of them vomited a mouthful of blood that was mixed with bits of organs. They immediately became extremely pale, having been heavily injured. Whether it was Newbies' body of a beast or Jinshin's chaotic body, they were unable to endure a palm strike from a 5th heavenly layer expert like the Holy Emperor. They were all injured without being able to put up any resistance. Their clothes had been reduced to dust, and only Jinshin's golden armor remained unscathed. It had already become dull. Were these clothes? They're actually undamaged after taking a palm strike from me. They must be some kind of treasure. The divine general's gaze was attracted by Jinshin's armor. Interest filled his eyes before he directly ripped the armor off Jinshin's body. Jinshin's heart suddenly sank when the armor was taken away. Although he was heavily injured at that moment, his eyes became extremely sharp. He stared at the divine general who had taken away the armor and said through gritted teeth, "If you dare to take this away, you'll definitely regret it in the future." The divine general's eyes turned cold, and he sneered, "Regret? That's right. You possess the ruler's presence, so you'll definitely reach the peak of the 16th star in the future, far surpassing us. You do indeed have the right to make me regret, but do you think you can live until then? Once we return to the Serpent God Hall, it'll be the day you 2 die." With that, the divine general no longer said anything else. He used spatial force to imprison Jinshin's trio before taking them to the territory of the Serpent God Hall. "I'm done for. I shouldn't have followed you in the first place. I won't even be able to enjoy the remaining 100 years of my lifespan." The heretic king was filled with regret. His face was ashen, and he was certain that he was going to die. Suddenly, a blue streak of light shot over from afar with lightning-like speed. It directly shot toward Jinshin and Newbies. It was impossible to tell what it was. The divine general who had captured Jinshin's trio coldly threw a punch at the incoming blue streak of light. The blue streak of light nimbly dodged the divine general's punch and arrived before Jinshin and Newbies. It constantly coiled around them as it chirped happily. Only now did they realize that the blue streak of light was actually a fist-sized bird. When the divine general saw the bird clearly, his face could not help but change. He cried out, "An abyssal bird!" At this moment, 4 tremendous presences suddenly appeared. Another 4 experts who were no weaker than the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall directly flew over. They moved extremely quickly, crossing several dozen kilometers in just a few seconds and arriving before Jinshin's trio. The appearance of the 4 people made the divine general who had captured Jinshin's trio become ugly. He growled, "Qing Yishuan, Oyun, and Mo Xiren of the 8 human experts, and Lei Batian of the 5 magical beasts. Why have you come?" The sudden arrival of the 4 of them caused a subtle change in the situation. The 3 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall and the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall all stopped fighting. The experts of the 3 organizations stood in a triangular formation in the air, surrounding the heavily injured Jinshin's trio. They all stared at the abyssal bird that constantly circled around Jinshin in surprise. That's an abyssal bird that lives in the depths of the Sea of Despair. The abyssal bird is the natural enemy of all sea races. Why is it so close to the 2 of them? At that moment, everyone present had the same thought. They were filled with doubt and curiosity as to why the abyssal bird was so close to Jinshin and newbies. The abyssal bird turned into a blue streak of light and constantly circled around Jinshin and newbies. It chirped happily before landing on Jinshin and newbies' shoulders and constantly jumping around. At the same time, the water spirit pearl that could change their presences in Jinshin's body began to tremble gently. A faint presence leaked out. Is the water spirit pearl in our bodies attracting the abyssal bird? Jinshin and newbies thought at the same time. Lei Batian stared at the abyssal bird that constantly circled around Jinshin. He said to Qing Yishuan, Emo, Xiren, and Oyun secretly. The Hall Master said that the abyssal bird will find the target. It looks like the 2 of them are the people the Hall Master wants us to bring back safely. Qing Yishuan, Emo, Xiren, and Oyun shifted their gazes from the abyssal bird to Jinshin, newbies, and newbies at the same time. However, when Qing Yishuan saw Jinshin and newbies' faces, she was stunned at first, but she recognized them immediately. She immediately flew into a rage and glared at Jinshin viciously. She called out, "It's actually you 2 bastards. I'll kill you." A sword immediately appeared in Qing Yishuan's hand. Qing Yishuan had already lost her head from anger, completely forgetting about the Hall Master's orders and the current situation. She raised her sword in an attempt to kill the 2 of them and avenge her humiliation. "Qing Yishuan, what are you doing? Stop." Lei Batian immediately stopped Qing Yishuan. The Hall Master had personally ordered them to bring back the 2 people that the abyssal bird had approached safely. How could he just watch Qing Yishuan kill them? Lei Batian, it's these 2 juniors who used despicable methods to steal the 8 wastelands from me. Move. Qing Yishuan's face was frosty as her eyes were filled with coldness and endless killing intent. Qing Yishuan would never be able to wash away the humiliation of having her personal belongings stolen and her sacred grounds invaded. Only by killing the 2 people who had offended her could her hatred be erased. As soon as they heard that Jinshin and newbies had stolen the 8 wastelands from the renowned Qing Yishuan, both the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall and the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall looked at Jinshin and newbies differently. Chapter 892. Jinshin and newbies were both pale as blood dripped from the corner of their lips. They looked at each other as their faces became extremely strange. None of them had thought that they would actually run into Qing Yishuan at a time like this. However, Jinshin soon smiled bitterly. He could still clearly remember how he had taken the 8 wastelands from Qing Yishuan. Due to the urgency of the situation back then, Jinshin had not considered too much. Not only had he taken 8 wastelands, but he had even ripped off her undergarment. The undergarment was still lying quietly in his space ring. The Diablo completely lost his temper when he heard that the 2 of them had offended Qing Yishuan. He had been completely defeated by the audacity of Jinshin and newbies. The 2 of them really were fearless. Not only were they bold enough to kill the people of the Serpent God Hall and Heaven Spirit Hall, but they were bold enough to take something from one of the renowned 8 human experts as well. Their arrogance had reached a rather high level. The Diablo feared nothing, using his supreme strength and strange evil arts to rampage through the sea realm. However, compared to Jinshin and newbies, the Diablo sadly discovered that he was not even a 10,000th of their strength. At the very least, he was not bold enough to offend the people of the Divine Hall, nor was he bold enough to take something from one of the 8 human experts. I sure have been wise all my life, but I've been foolish all my life. Why couldn't I resist the temptation of the divine water of the world and follow them? Look at it now. Let alone giving me the divine water of the world within 50 years. I don't even know if I can survive. The Diablo constantly grumbled inside. Lei Batian, Oyun, and Mo Zion stared at Jianshan and newbies in doubt. Mo Zion asked in doubt, Qing Yishuan, didn't you say that the juniors who took the 8 wastelands were a human and a magical beast? But both of them have the aura of someone from the sea race. Could you have mistaken them for someone else? That's right, Qing Yishuan. The two of them are clearly members of the sea race. Could it be that you mistaken them for someone else? Lei Batian said with a face full of suspicion. Qing Yishuan studied Jianshan and newbies carefully again. As expected, she discovered that while their appearances were extremely similar to the people who had stolen the 8 wastelands from her, their presences were completely different. A person's appearance could be changed at will, but it was very difficult to change one's aura, let alone the aura of a human or a beast man. Qing Yishuan finally calmed down when she realized this. Her phoenix-like eyes flickered with light as she studied the two of them. A sliver of doubt appeared on her face as she thought, have I really gotten the wrong person? Are the 2 detestable juniors who stole the 8 wastelands different people? Are they just similar to the 2 of them? Lei Batian glanced at the uneasy Qing Yishuan and said through a communication technique, Qing Yishuan, don't forget the Hall Master's orders. I don't care who stole the 8 wastelands, but the 2 of them are people the Hall Master is looking for. We have to bring them back safely no matter what. Qing Yishuan nodded slightly. She said nothing, but she constantly glanced at Jianshan and newbies from time to time. Although their presences were different, she felt that the 2 of them seemed to be the 2 detestable juniors who had stolen the 8 wastelands. However, the change in their presences made her uncertain. She was afraid that she had mistaken them for someone else. Lei Batian, Qing Yishuan, Mo Zion, and Oyun, have you come for the 3 of them as well? A disciplinary elder of the Heavens Spirit Hall asked coldly. Lei Batian crossed his arms and said proudly, that's right, we have indeed come for them. I think you've already guessed a few things when you saw the Abyssal Bird. They're the Hall Master's people. We're only following orders to bring them back. The Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall? Does he have the same intentions as the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall? Jinshin's thoughts spun rapidly when he heard Lei Batian's words. He quickly analyzed the situation. Something doesn't seem right. The Abyssal Bird seems to be connected to the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall, and the reason why the Abyssal Bird was able to find us should be because of the Water Spirit Pearl in its body. The Water Spirit Pearl was given to us by that mysterious woman, and she said that if we couldn't stay in the Serpent God Hall any longer, we could go to the territory of the Poseidon Hall. We would be safe there. Is that mysterious woman related to the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall? Or perhaps she's the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall. If that's really the case, it explains her great strength. The Hall Masters of the 3 halls are all experts at the level of the Holy Emperor. Only experts like that can fend off the experts of the Beast God Continent. Jianshan, do you think the woman who gave us the Water Spirit Pearl is the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall? Newbies asked Jianshan secretly. Clearly, he had thought of the same thing as Jianshan. Jianshan remained silent for a while. He did not reply because he was uncertain about this matter. Lei Batian's words caused the expressions of the 4 generals and the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall to change slightly. I never thought that they would actually attract the attention of the esteemed Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall. How surprising. However, they are enemies of our Serpent God Hall, so we must take them away, said a divine general of the Serpent God Hall. Even though Lei Batian had mentioned the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall, they would not back down at all. Their Serpent God Hall was not much weaker than the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall. There's also my Heaven Spear Hall. They've killed 2 elders of my Heaven Spear Hall, so we must take them away and wait for the Hall elders to deal with them. The disciplinary elder of the Heaven Spear Hall growled. Mo Zion smiled. Since all 3 of us want to take them away and none of us can back down, why don't we do this? Let's see what the 3 of them think first and let them make a choice. We'll see which side they'll follow. No, don't even think about it. The experts of the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall rejected Mo Zion's suggestion without any hesitation. Both sides knew that they had fallen out with Jinshin's group. If the three of them had to choose, they definitely would not have chosen them. Since no one agrees with my suggestion, may I ask if you have any good ideas to resolve this matter? Serene continued. The three disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the four divine generals of the Serpent God Hall all remained silent. Now that all the experts of the three organizations had gathered, there was no other way to resolve this matter apart from using strength. However, if they were to rely on strength to determine the victor, it would be very difficult to do so, given the current situation of three parties. It was likely that they would not be able to determine the victor, even if they fought for a few days and nights. This was because when both sides fought, they would be on guard against the third party and would not dare to use their full strength. At this moment, Lei Batian arrived before Jinshin's group with a flash. With a wave of his hand, an invisible force enveloped the three of them before he shot off in the direction he had come from. He's taken them away. Chase him. Lei Batian, don't even think about taking them away. The four divine generals and the three disciplinary elders were all furious as they pursued Lei Batian at the same time. Qin Yishuan, Serene, and Ouyun struck out at the same time. They used their full strength to keep the four divine generals and three disciplinary elders busy right from the start. However, the difference in numbers was just too great. Moreover, they were all at the same level of cultivation, so their battle prowess was basically the same. The three of them were unable to keep the seven of them busy at all. Immediately, four of them overtook them and chased after Lei Batian. Lei Batian flew towards the territory of the Poseidon Hall with Jinshin's group as fast as he could. However, due to the burden of Jinshin's group, he was slightly slower than the pursuers. The distance between them gradually closed. Lei Batian knew that the four of them would catch up sooner or later if this continued. So he gritted his teeth and said to Jinshin's group, I need to stop them. I can't take you with me. Just follow this path and you'll reach the territory of the Poseidon Hall. You'll be safe once you get there. With that, Lei Batian forcefully tossed the three of them far away. Afterward, he charged towards the four experts behind him with a huge hammer, engaging in a great battle with them. Qin Yishuan, Serene, and Ouyun also abandoned their opponents and flew over from behind. They worked together with Lei Batian, fighting as they retreated. Jinshin's group did not stop at all. After being tossed away by Lei Batian, they immediately adjusted their direction and flew towards the territory of the Poseidon Hall at full speed. In just a few seconds, they had traveled several 100,000 kilometers. We can't let them escape. The four divine generals of the Serpent God Hall and the three disciplinary elders called out together. At that moment, the seven of them actually reached an extremely rare agreement. They first used their full strength to repel Lei Batian's group before launching a powerful attack at Jinshin's group that was about to disappear into the horizon. For serpent dragons and three vicious beasts shot through the air, flying towards Jinshin's group with great speed. The energy of the seven vicious beasts had completely locked onto their presences. No matter how they changed directions, they were unable to shake them off. We're in trouble now. Lei Batian's face became ugly. The powerful attack from the seven of them moved extremely quickly, completely surpassing his speed. Even if he wanted to stop them, he did not have the ability to do so. Noticing the seven vicious beasts completely condensed from energy, Jinshin's group of three became ugly as well. Even Jinshin was not confident that he could survive the powerful attack from seven Holy Emperor experts at the fifth heavenly layer. We can't take it on head-on, or we'll lose a layer of skin even if we don't die. We won't be able to escape at all. Jinshin's mind raced. Soon after, he gritted his teeth and a golden streak of light immediately shot out from his forehead. He had used the Saint artifact. At that moment, Jinshin no longer cared about hiding the Saint artifact. The powerful attack from seven Holy Emperor experts at the fifth heavenly layer was incomparable to two Holy Emperors at the third heavenly layer. If there were two Holy Emperors at the third heavenly layer, Jinshin could take the risk to block it. However, Jinshin did not dare to attempt the attack from seven Holy Emperors at the fifth heavenly layer. Don't resist. Jinshin hurriedly sent a secret message to the evil king. Afterward, with a flash of light, the three of them vanished. They had been sucked into the artifact space. Just as Jinshin's group of 3 entered the artifact space, the powerful attack from the 4 divine generals and 3 disciplinary elders arrived as well. They viciously collided with the Saint artifact, producing a deafening boom. The Saint artifact did not possess any offensive power, but its defensive power was unquestionable. Apart from experts at the Holy Emperor level, no one could harm it at all. The Saint artifact had managed to endure the powerful attack from the 7 experts from the 2 halls, failing to harm Jinshin's group of 3 at all. Instead, the Saint artifact borrowed the momentum to fly them away even faster. What kind of treasure is that? Not only can it store living people, but it can also endure the attacks from the 7 of us without being destroyed. The eyes of one of the disciplinary elders from the Heaven Spirit Hall lit up as he stared at the shining Saint artifact. Chapter 893. The Saint artifact shone with a faint golden light. Borrowing the force from the powerful attacks of the 7 Holy Emperor experts, it quickly flew into the distance. It moved extremely quickly, disappearing into the distance in the blink of an eye. After it, the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall and the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall all pursued. Although the Saint artifact had already vanished from their sight, they could still find traces of it through its presence. However, at this moment, the 7 of them had other thoughts aside from wanting to take Jinshin back. They were greedy for the Saint artifact. Even experts at their level would be tempted by a treasure that could withstand a powerful attack from 7 Holy Emperor experts at the 5th heavenly layer and store a living person in it. Stop them, Lei Batian called out. He, Qing Yishuan, Mo Xiren, and Yun did their best to stop the 7 of them. However, the 4 of them would occasionally glance in the direction where the Saint artifact had vanished. The light in their eyes flickered. Even Lei Batian and the other 3 became rather tempted by such a wondrous treasure. However, they did not forget their mission. They did not forget that Jinshin's group had been personally ordered by the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall to bring them back safely. After the Saint artifact carried Jinshin's group several hundred kilometers away, the residual force finally vanished. It slowed down as well, and with a flash of light, Jinshin's group of 3 appeared out of nowhere. Afterwards, the Saint artifact immediately shot into Jinshin's forehead as a golden streak of light, disappearing. The Saint artifact is slower than us. We can't remain in it forever. If the people of the Serpent God Hall and Heaven's Spirit Hall obtain it and take it back to their divine halls, we'll be in deep trouble, Jinshin said with a deep voice. The Hall Masters of the Serpent God Hall and Heaven's Spirit Hall were both peak Holy Emperor experts. They possessed the strength to destroy the Saint artifact. Looks like the 8 human experts have been sent by His Highness Poseidon to capture us. Fortunately, you haven't offended His Highness Poseidon, but there would be no place for us in the vast sea realm. Let's go quickly and reach His Highness Poseidon's territory as soon as possible, Evil King Xie said sternly. Xie Wang sternly said. His voice was slightly panicked. It was very difficult for him to remain calm as he faced the pursuit of 7 5th heavenly layer Saint Kings. Jinshin's group of 3 immediately pushed their speed to the limit. They were only 100,000 kilometers away from His Highness Poseidon's territory now. But very soon, 3 tremendous presences appeared behind them. The 3 experts shook off Lei Batian and the others and quickly pursued Jinshin's group. Lei Batian and the others pursued them closely in an attempt to keep the experts chasing after Jinshin's group of 3 busy. Behind Lei Batian's group of 4 were 4 experts from the Serpent God Hall and Heaven Spear Hall. They wanted to keep Lei Batian's group busy so that the other 3 could stop Jinshin's group. The 2 sides rapidly approached Jinshin's group as they pursued. A total of 11 boundless auras flew over countless tribes and clans in an unbridled manner. Along the way, they alarmed many experts of the sea race, causing a huge commotion. A battle between 11 16-star experts was an extremely rare occurrence in the sea world. It would only happen once in 1,000 years, so what happened here would definitely spread across the entire sea realm. For a moment, many saint rulers followed the 11 experts from the 3 halls from afar. There were a few Holy Emperor experts among them as well. They had all come to watch the show, so none of them dared to interfere. Jinshin's group of 3 became extremely worried when they saw the 3 Holy Emperor chasing after them. The Holy Emperor experts behind them were much faster than them. If this continued, the experts of the Heaven Spirit Hall and Serpent God Hall would probably catch up to them before they even made it to Poseidon's Hall. Newbies became determined. He gritted his teeth. "I'll burn my essence to take the 2 of you with me." With that, golden flames immediately erupted from Newbies' body. Although the flames did not have any heat, they were extremely eye-catching in the Azure Sea realm. They shone like the sun. Newbies burned his essence to obtain a speed that exceeded his own. Afterward, he shot off as a golden comet with Jinshin and Xiao Wang. Even though Newbies did not want to do this, he had no other choice now. Newbies' body surged with golden flames as his essence was rapidly consumed. His flesh withered at a visible rate as he shrank. As his essence was consumed, Newbies' presence weakened bit by bit. His strength was declining, but his speed had reached a terrifying level. He was already comparable to the Holy Emperor, a supreme expert at the 4th heavenly layer. Even though Newbies' speed was still slower than his pursuers after burning his essence, he was still able to put up a struggle at the very least. The pursuers would not be able to catch up to them in a short amount of time. Bastard! How did they increase their speed so quickly? The expressions of the 3 pursuers changed. They were only 30,000 kilometers away from the territory of the Poseidon's Hall. Quick, quick, quick! We're about to reach the territory of the Poseidon's Hall. As long as we reach the territory of the Poseidon's Hall, we'll be safe. Newbies, Xiao Wang, and Xiao Wang were worried as well. They stared straight ahead. The 3 Holy Emperors were only around 30 kilometers away, but the 3 Holy Emperors no longer dared to attack Jinshin's group from afar. They were afraid that not only would they fail to injure the 3 of them, they would even assist them instead. After another 15 minutes, Newbies, Xiao Wang, and Xiao Wang finally arrived at the border between the territories of the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Poseidon's Hall. They were about to leave the Heaven Spirit Hall, while the 3 Holy Emperors of the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall were only 10 kilometers away. Don't let them pass through the border. Lock down the space there, a divine general called out. At that moment, the 3 of them from different organizations worked together with great teamwork and locked down the space there. Immediately, the space around them rapidly froze. They wanted to trap Jinshin, Xiao Wang, and Xiao Wang, so they could not escape. However, locking down 10 kilometers of space was not so simple. Even though they were holy emperors, it was impossible for them to complete it in a single moment. The frozen space rapidly extended forward, catching up to Jinshin's group before long. Newbies, faster! Jinshin called out in a hurry. They were extremely close to the border now. God damn it. The frozen space is about to catch up to us. Faster! Xiao Wang also panicked as he called out in a panic. Newbies clenched her teeth and bellowed out. The golden flames on her burned even brighter, and she charged forward even faster than before. In the end, she successfully passed through the border before the frozen space could catch up, arriving in the territory of the Poseidon Hall. However, before the 3 of them could rejoice, the rapidly solidifying space actually crossed the boundary between the 2 worlds and directly enveloped the 3 of them. It firmly immobilized them. The hearts of Jinshin's group immediately sank as their faces became extremely ugly. If the people of the Heavens Spirit Hall and Serpent God Hall did not abide by the agreement between the territories and set foot in the Poseidon Hall, it would be very difficult for them to escape alive today. Disciplinary Elder of the Heavens Spirit Hall, Divine General of the Serpent God Hall, as members of the Divine Halls, are you not going to abide by the agreement between the 3 Divine Halls and attack the people in the territory of the Poseidon Hall? Libation's heavy voice rang out from behind. His voice was filled with anger. The 3 experts who had trapped Jinshin's group completely ignored Libation's words. The 3 of them crossed the border at the same time and arrived in the territory of the Poseidon Hall. They each grabbed Jinshin's group and wanted to pull them out of the territory of the Poseidon Hall. It's over now. Xiao Wang sighed inside as the flames of hope in his heart were immediately extinguished. Even Newbie's and Jinshin's faces became extremely sunken. They had spent so much effort to escape the pursuit of the 7 experts to the territory of the Poseidon Hall, but they never thought that they would still be captured in the end. The 3 experts each grabbed Jinshin's group by the shoulders and were about to drag them back to the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. However, in the next moment, all 3 of their faces changed drastically. Shock filled their faces. This was because they had suddenly discovered that the 3 of them had been restrained by a mysterious force silently. They could not move at all. The 3 of them possessed the strength of the 5th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor in the first place. Even with the entire sea realm in perspective, there were still a handful of peak experts. Just how powerful was the person who had restrained the 3 of them without them noticing? The 3 of them were astounded. This is the innate ability of the Imperial family. It's an immobilization technique for controlling the body. A divine general of the Serpent God Hall cried out as his face paled. Oh no, someone from the Imperial family has secretly interfered and restrained us. An enforcement elder of the Heaven's Spirit Hall understood very soon. He immediately cried out and sent a message to his companions. Lei Batian, Qing Yishuan, Mo Ziren, and Yun crossed the border and returned to the territory of the Poseidon Hall. The remaining 4 experts of the Serpent God Hall and Heaven Spirit Hall stopped at the edge of the Heaven Spirit Hall. They stared at the 3 restrained experts in surprise and doubt, not daring to take a single step forward. Your Serpent God Hall and Heaven Spirit Hall sure are bold to enter the territory of the Poseidon Hall without permission. A lively and gentle voice rang out in the air. A beautiful woman in a blue dress appeared out of thin air. Her beauty was enough to cause the downfall of nations. The woman was extremely delicate and pretty. Her blue hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall. She held a 1-meter-long blue staff in her hand, and her bare feet floated 100 meters in the air. Although she did not give off any aura, she seemed to have fused with the world. Chapter 894. It's a hall elder. Jianshun, Newbies, and Xiaowang all raised their heads to look at the woman. Unconcealable surprise filled their faces. The hall elder before him was just far too young and far too beautiful. Even on the Tian Yuan continent, her beauty could be counted on one hand. The greatest hall elder of the Poseidon Hall. Her strength is only second to the hall master, Atlantis. The 4 experts in the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall stared at the woman in the air in shock as they all cried out. Atlantis, it's actually Atlantis. She. Didn't she never leave the Sea God Palace? Why did she come here personally today? The faces of the 3 experts who were restrained were pale, without a trace of blood. Atlantis' name was well known to them as 16th Star Elders. She was the undisputed 4th expert of the Sea Realm, having reached the peak of the 16th star many years ago. Her battle prowess was extremely great, and no one at the same level was her opponent. Only the hall masters of the 3 halls could suppress her. Without any exaggeration, Atlantis was the undisputed greatest expert of the Sea Realm aside from the hall masters of the 3 halls. It's over this time. I didn't think Atlantis would actually come here. Even if the 7 of us worked together, we would still die without a doubt. The 3 powerhouses who had been restrained were dejected and didn't have the slightest bit of temper left in them. They would be severely punished for trespassing in the territory of the Poseidon Hall. Although their lives would not be in any danger, it was extremely embarrassing for 16-star experts to be punished. They would no longer have the face to see anyone after they returned. In the blink of an eye, the situation changed with Atlantis' appearance. Not only did she deter the 7 experts of the 2 halls, but she also ensured the safety of Jianshan and the other 2. Atlantis glanced past Jianshan and the other 2 with an emotionless gaze. However, when her gaze landed on Jianshan and Newbies, she paused slightly. A sliver of surprise flashed through her eyes before disappearing. She then said to the 4 of them, "They're the hall masters' people." "Yes, hall elders. They're the hall masters' people, and they've been confirmed by the Abyssal Bird. There's no mistake. Le Batian replied with a muffled voice. "The Hall Master will see them immediately. The four of you are responsible for sending them back to the Divine Hall." Atlantis' voice was indifferent, without any ripples of emotion. With that, the invisible force that restrained Jianshun and the other two vanished, allowing them to regain their freedom. "Yes, Hall Elders," Le Batian replied respectfully. With a wave of his hand, an invisible force immediately enveloped Jianshun and the other two. "Wait," Jianshun suddenly spoke up, causing Le Batian to pause. He immediately cast a doubtful glance at him. Jianshun glared at a divine general standing in the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall and said with a deep voice, "Sir, shouldn't you return what you took from me?" The divine general had already put away the golden silk armor he had taken from Jianshun into his space ring. When he heard Jianshun's words, his expression immediately changed. He glanced at the hovering Atlantis, whose expression did not change at all. Deep fear appeared on his face. However, he understood very soon that he was still in the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall. He had not set foot in the territory of the Poseidon Hall. Even though Atlantis was very powerful, he would not dare to touch him. When he thought up to there, the divine general immediately became fearless. He sneered, It's not damaged at all after taking an attack from me. This armor is quite extraordinary. However, if you want your armor back, you'll have to exchange it with the items you've taken from us. Otherwise, don't even think about getting your armor back." With that, the divine general and his companion looked at each other before leaving. They flew towards the territory of the Serpent God Hall. The two of them did not pay too much attention to their companions who had been imprisoned by Atlantis because they already knew the fate of their companions. It was pointless for them to remain there, and it was extremely likely that they would be stopped by the experts of the Heaven Spirit Hall. They would end up in the same situation as their companions who had set foot in the territory of the Poseidon Hall. It would not be worth it. Jianshun clenched his fists tightly as he stared at the two divine generals who had left. A cold light flickered through his eyes as he growled, "There will be a day when I make you regret what you've done today for the rest of your life." The golden silk armor was woven from the silk of the primordial god silkworm. It was an extremely rare treasure in the world. Jianshun had already understood its value from the sword spirits. It was an extremely powerful defensive treasure. For some reason, the golden silk armor could only block the attacks of saint rulers. However, Jianshun knew extremely well that the golden silk armor still hid a lot of potential. It had just not been activated yet. Its true defensive power was definitely not like this. "Let's go," Le Batian called out before leaving with Jianshun and the others. They directly made their way to the Poseidon Hall. After they had left, Atlantis coldly glanced past the three experts she had imprisoned. She said emotionlessly, "The three of you will come with me to the Poseidon Hall. The Hall Master will deal with you." Atlantis gently waved her wand, and a blue halo immediately enveloped the three of them, sealing their strength. It then turned into a blue ribbon that connected to Atlantis' hand. Atlantis held 3 ribbons that had turned into ropes and pulled the 3 of them towards the temple. Along the way, they attracted the curious gazes of many powerful beings who were passing by. They all pointed at them and whispered among themselves. At that moment, the 3 fifth heavenly layer Holy Emperor experts behind her even wanted to die. They were mighty 16th star experts, yet they had ended up in such a miserable state. The 3 of them were carried by the burly Le Batian, so they moved extremely quickly. Beside them were Qing Yishuan, Mo Xiren, and O Yun, the 8 human experts who escorted them along the way. Nubis was pale and haggard. He was extremely weak. He had just burned his essence in exchange for greater speed, which had taken an extremely great toll on him. His strength had decreased by quite a lot, going from half a step away from becoming a holy emperor to a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler. I've finally been saved. What I've experienced this time is the proudest thing of my life. I actually managed to escape from the pursuit of 7 16th star experts. Nubis was filled with joy. As soon as he thought about the life he had gone through as a fugitive, he felt like he was living in a dream. It was just so thrilling. He had never thought that a few mere Saint Kings would be able to successfully escape from the joint pursuit of several elders from the two divine halls. Looks like it was a wise choice for me to follow them. I've heard from the elders that the two of them seem to be rulers of some race. They have great statuses, so they shouldn't be lying to me. I think I'll definitely be able to obtain the divine water of the world again in 50 years, Newbies thought. The flames of hope reignited in his heart. He was no longer as pessimistic and despairing as before. Jianshun stared at the weak Newbies in concern. He asked, "Newbies, do you want to rest in the artifact space?" Newbies nodded. "That works too. I've used up some of my essence, so I need to replenish it as soon as possible, or there'll be repercussions. It'll affect me very greatly in the future." Jianshun no longer hesitated. With a thought, the Saint artifact immediately shot out from between his eyebrows as a golden streak of light, landing in his hand. Afterward, he sucked Newbies into the artifact space. The Saint artifact had already been exposed when he fled earlier, so there was no need for him to hide it anymore. The appearance of the Saint artifact immediately attracted the gazes of Lei, Batian, and the others. They all stared at the golden tower in Jianshun's hand curiously. They could not help but ask, "Brother, what is this thing? It can actually store a living person. How unbelievable." "This is something I obtained by chance. I only know its uses, but I don't know its origins or its exact name." Jianshun made up a random excuse. He did not dare to reveal the true origins of the Saint artifact. There were no Radiant Saint Masters in the Sea Realm at all. Once they were injured, they would have to use various healing medicines or rely on themselves to heal. It was extremely slow. If they learned the true origins of the Saint artifact, the entire Sea Realm would probably be thrown into an uproar. The Saint artifact disappeared into Jianshun's forehead as a golden streak of light. Lei Batian and the others immediately widened their eyes at such a wondrous sight. Disbelief filled their faces. "Little brother, could it be that this thing is still in his head?" Oyun, one of the 8 great human powerhouses, said dumbfoundedly. This had completely overturned his understanding. Jianshun nodded, but he did not explain in detail. "What a wondrous treasure," Ziren sighed emotionally. However, none of them noticed that Qing Yishuan's face had become unsettled. The light in her eyes flickered. Who knew what she was thinking? After flying for half a day, Lei Batian finally arrived at the Poseidon Hall with Jianshun. The Poseidon Hall was located in the center of the territory. It was an extremely huge divine hall that hovered in the air. It gave off a dignified presence. At the very top of the divine hall stood a huge statue that was 300 meters tall. It was like a god, sacred and inviolable. The statue was of a woman whose face was obscured. It was extremely lifelike. The upper half of the woman was human, while the lower half was fish. It was a strange combination of being half human and half fish. The moment he saw the statue, Jianshun even felt like he was seeing an illusion. It was as if he was not looking at a statue, but a world. Jianshun understood that the woman in the statue must have reached an extremely high level of cultivation when she was alive. Otherwise, she would never have made him feel like that. The person carved on the statue is the great Poseidon of the sea race. He's the only expert who has surpassed the Holy Emperor's level of cultivation in all these years. In ancient times, he was on par with the greatest human expert, Tianyun, the ancient winged tiger and the war god of the 100 races, Lei Batian explained. "Poseidon," Jianshun murmured. He felt like the statue gave him a familiar feeling. Chapter 895. With the medallion in hand, Lei Batian brought Jianshun and Xie Wang to the divine hall that hovered in the air. They directly entered it. The shrine was huge, with thousands of palaces, pavilions, terraces, and pagodas everywhere. Exotic flowers and rare herbs were planted everywhere, emitting a faint fragrance that filled the entire shrine. Just a whiff of it would make people feel relaxed and happy. Their minds would become clear in an instant, and it had the effect of stabilizing their qi. Jianshun and Xie Wang moved through the various palaces with Lei Batian, Qing Yishuan, Oyun, and Ziren. They made their way to the depths of the divine hall. Along the way, they could see groups of uniformed guards patrolling the divine hall. At the same time, Jianshun could sense the existence of many experts in the surrounding palaces. Saint rulers were everywhere, and there were even quite a few Holy Emperor-level experts. All of them were cultivating in their own palaces. Jianshun constantly stared at the floor as he stepped on the blue marble. He glanced at the surrounding buildings from time to time as deep shock filled his eyes. With the powerful senses of his soul, he could clearly sense an extremely terrifying energy hidden within the entire divine hall, whether it was the structures in the surroundings or the floor beneath his feet. The powerful energy constantly tempered every single brick and tile. After many years of accumulation, the structures in the divine hall had become extraordinarily tough. Even if Jianshun used his full strength, he would not be able to leave behind a single mark on them. At this moment, an old man covered in wrinkles walked over. Lei Batian and the others hurriedly clasped their hands and bowed when they saw the old man. They said, "Greetings, Hall Elder." The old man glanced past Jianshun and Xiao Wang before looking at Lei Batian and asking, "Are these the two people the Hall Master brought back safely?" "Correct. They're the people the Hall Master is looking for," replied Lei Batian. He glanced at Jianshun and Xiao Wang from time to time. He was extremely curious as to why the Hall Master valued these two saint rulers so much. The old man stared at Jianshun and Xiao Wang in interest. He said, "Which one of you is Jianshun?" "Esteemed Hall Elder, I am Jianshun," said Jianshun. Jianshun took a step forward and clasped his hands at the old man. He was extremely polite. If the old man was on the Tian Yuan continent, he would be an extremely terrifying existence. Even with the Tian Yuan continent in perspective, he would be a supreme expert that could be counted on one hand. The old man studied Jianshun with glowing eyes as he thought to himself, "Aren't you just a king who hasn't matured yet? Why is the Hall Master taking such good care of you?" Not only did he send Lei Batian and the other 16-star experts to the Heaven Spirit Hall to save you, but even Atlantis, who hasn't left the Divine Hall for a very long time, has personally come to the border for you. I really don't understand why the Hall Master is spending so much effort on the two of you. Jianshun, come with me. The Hall Master wants to see you personally." The old man said to Jianshun indifferently before turning around and leaving. With his great status, he could not be bothered to waste his breath on two puny saint rulers. "Jianshun, go with the Hall Elder. Remember, the Hall Master is an expert at the level of the Holy Emperor. You must show some respect when you see him," Lei Batian said to Jianshun through a communication technique. Jianshun nodded slightly, then silently followed behind the Divine Hall Elder, leaving behind the evil king, Lei Batian, and the others to stare at his departing figure. Jianshun followed the Hall Elder to the depths of the Divine Hall without any obstructions. Afterward, he entered a splendidly decorated hall. Two saint ruler guards stood at the entrance like statues. They're actually using a saint ruler as a guard. "The sea goddess Hall sure is generous," said Yi Futian. Jianshun was secretly surprised. An expert like that would be a peak expert who could dominate an entire region in the outside world. Jianshun followed the Hall Elder into the hall. The large hall was empty. Aside from a slender woman sitting on a throne at the very front, there was no one else. The Hall Elder respectfully bowed to the woman on the throne and said, "Hall Master, Jianshun has been brought here. Elder Hong, you can leave." The woman's voice was extremely gentle and pleasant. "Yes." The Hall Elder slowly retreated. "Is this the Hall Master of Poseidon, one of the three Holy Emperor realm experts of the Sea Realm?" Jianshun studied the woman on the throne curiously. The woman's azure clothes tightly wrapped around her figure. Her blue hair flowed down like a waterfall. It was not adorned at all, casually draping over her shoulders. Her appearance was a blur, where it was impossible to see clearly. Her true appearance seemed to be shrouded by a layer of mist. Even though he was facing a Holy Emperor realm expert, Jianshun did not sense any aura from the Hall Master of Poseidon. He gave off an amiable feeling. Junior Jianshun greets the esteemed Hall Master. Jianshun quickly calmed down and clasped his hands towards the woman on the throne. Boom! A muffled sound rang out from behind. The door of the hall had already closed, cutting off all auras and sights from the outside. At this moment, only Jianshin and the Hall Master of Poseidon were present in the large hall. The Hall Master of Poseidon stood up from the throne and slowly walked towards Jianshin with light steps. Immediately, a faint fragrance entered Jianshin's nose, intoxicating him. Facing a holy Emperor realm expert at such a close distance, Jianshin found it very difficult to remain calm. His heart began to beat violently, clearly nervous. "You are the person chosen by His Majesty." The Hall Master of Poseidon spoke in a soft voice, as if she was speaking to Jianshin, but also as if she was muttering to herself. "I actually can't sense the presence of the abyssal crystal from your space ring. Where did you put the abyssal crystal?" Before Jianshin could reply, the Hall Master continued. "Abyssal crystal?" Jianshin was stunned, but he soon understood. He asked, "Is the abyssal crystal that the Hall Master speaks of the key that gives off the blue light?" "Correct." The Hall Master of Poseidon circled around Jianshin as she constantly studied Jianshin. However, she wondered inside, is this the person chosen by His Majesty? Does he really have the ability to enter there? This junior is puzzled. I wonder what the abyssal crystal is. May I ask if the Hall Master can answer my questions? Jianshin asked. The mysterious key had actually attracted the attention of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall, which filled him with great curiosity about its origins and uses. His Majesty's time is almost up, so he locked himself up in the Supreme Divine Hall before moving into the depths of the Sea of Despair. No one can find it. This key is the guide to finding the Supreme Divine Hall. As long as you obtain this key, you will be able to find the Supreme Divine Hall. The Hall Master of Poseidon did not hide anything and told Jianshin the truth. I see. No wonder the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall have both come for this item. So they want to enter the Supreme Divine Hall and obtain the Sea Goddess Legacy. Jianshin murmured to himself as he came to a realization. Wrong. They have not entered the Supreme Divine Hall to obtain His Majesty's legacy. Although His Majesty's time is almost up, he has only lost his body. His soul has not been destroyed, so it has always remained in the Supreme Divine Hall. The Heaven Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall only want to enter the Supreme Divine Hall and obtain His Majesty's soul. They want to devour His Majesty's soul and reach His Majesty's level of cultivation in the past. The Hall Master of Poseidon's words were shocking Jianshin. What? The two divine halls want to devour Poseidon's soul? Jianshin exclaimed. Disbelief filled his face. Poseidon was the sea goddess, an expert revered by everyone. Her subjects would actually do something like this. Sigh. His Majesty has already disappeared for far too long. With the passage of time, the deterrents he left behind can no longer affect the experts of the sea realm. In the past few years, every single Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall has tried their best to find the Supreme Divine Hall so that they could devour His Majesty's soul and reach a higher level of cultivation. However, the abyssal crystal can only be found in the depths of the Sea of Despair. That place is boundless, so it's very easy to get lost. It's extremely dangerous as well. Even emperors would face life-threatening danger if they set foot in there. As a result, the Supreme Divine Hall has been drifting in the Sea of Despair for countless years without anyone finding it. However, the abyssal crystal on you has shattered the peace of the sea realm. Jianshin fell silent for a while as he slowly digested the information in his head. The information he had heard from the Hall Master of Poseidon had completely shattered Jianshin's understanding of the situation in the sea realm. In the past, he had learned from Tianjian that Poseidon was still alive. Back then, he believed that Poseidon still retained his peak strength and was the greatest expert in the world, an existence that surpassed the Holy Emperor. However, the final outcome was completely unexpected. Although Poseidon was still alive, he had lost his physical body. Only his soul remained, and he could only hide in the Supreme Divine Hall, afraid to come out. He faced the threat of having his soul devoured by the Hall Masters of the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall at any time. Jianshan sucked in a deep breath and slowly calmed himself down. He stared at the Hall Master of Poseidon in interest and said, "Hall Master, do you want me to give the abyssal crystal to you?" The Hall Master of Poseidon paused. She turned around and stared at Jianshan. Although Jianshan could not see her appearance, he could clearly sense a sharp gaze fixed on him. It actually caused his eyes to ache slightly, as if he had been stabbed by a needle. Jianshan, although the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall have ill intentions towards His Majesty, my Hall Master of Poseidon is absolutely loyal to him. For the sake of His Majesty's safety, you must hand over the abyssal crystal on you. I will personally safeguard it for the time being, said the Hall Master of Poseidon. Jianshan hesitated for a while. He knew that he had no other choice, so he just took out the mysterious key and handed it to the Hall Master of Poseidon. Jianshan, you may not be a part of my sea race, but you are someone chosen by His Majesty. His Majesty has even bestowed upon you an imperial knighting to conceal your presence. In the future, stay in Poseidon and focus on cultivating. Increase your strength as quickly as possible. I will bestow upon you a Divine Hall Elder Medallion. In the future, you will enjoy the same treatment as the other Divine Hall Elders in my hall, said the Hall Master of Poseidon. Your Majesty, if I become a Divine Hall Elder, does that mean I won't be able to set foot in the territories of the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall? Jianshan asked. That's right. Our 3 territories have an agreement. Without their permission, no one from the Divine Hall can set foot in their territories. If that's the case, I don't want the Divine Hall Elder Medallion. Jianshan firmly declined the position of Divine Hall Elder. Compared to the golden threaded armor, the empty title of Divine Hall Elder was not worth mentioning. He would take back the golden threaded armor that the divine generals of the Serpent God Hall had taken away one day. Chapter 896. Jianshan declined the position of Hall Elder without any hesitation, which slightly stunned the Hall Master of the Poseidon. This was the first time in the history of the Sea Realm that a saint ruler could become a Hall Elder. If it were not for the fact that Jianshan had been chosen by the Empress, she would not have cared so much about Jianshan. This was because there was only one way to become a Hall Elder in the 3 Divine Halls, and that was to reach the peak of the 16th star. In the world of the sea, apart from the embodiment of strength, the Temple Elder was also a symbol of status. It represented a kind of supreme honor. Once one became a Temple Elder, they would be a prominent figure, second only to the Temple Master in the territory of the temple. It was the goal of countless sea race people. You've actually declined to become a Hall Elder of the Poseidon Hall. The Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall spoke in surprise. She originally thought that Jianshan would be deliriously overjoyed, but she never thought that not only would he not be happy at all, he would even decline to become a Hall Elder. Are you worried that the other elders of the Poseidon Hall will be dissatisfied if you become a Hall Elder with your current strength? If that's the case, you don't need to worry. You were personally appointed by the Emperor, so they won't be able to do anything to you, said the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall. Hall Master, a treasure of mine has been stolen from me. Once I'm strong enough in the future, I will definitely enter the Serpent God Hall and take it back. As a result, I cannot become a Hall Elder of the Sea Goddess Hall, Jianshan explained. He was afraid that the Hall Master would become displeased if he rejected the Hall Master's appointment. I see. Whatever. The Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall sat down before the throne and said, since that's the case, you can become a guest of the Poseidon Hall. You can enjoy the same treatment as an elder like Qin Yishuan, Lei Batian, and the others. You are not a part of the Poseidon Hall. Thank you for your gift, Hall Master. Jianshan cupped his hands in thanks. With the status of a guest elder, it would be much more convenient for him to move about the territory of Poseidon Palace in the future. It would save him a lot of unnecessary trouble. Poseidon grasped at the air, and a powerful energy immediately condensed. In the end, it condensed into a blue medallion that was half the size of a palm. He said, take this medallion. There's a sliver of the Emperor's presence in it. It's a symbol of your status as a guest. With it, you'll enjoy the status of an ordinary elder. You can freely move through the public areas of the Divine Hall. Jianshun accepted the token. Immediately, he felt a vast energy fluctuation from the token. The energy had completely solidified, making the token countless times harder than refined iron. Jianshun immediately shivered inside. The Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall was truly worthy of being an expert at the level of the Holy Emperor. With a wave of his hand, he could condense a powerful energy into a medallion in a single moment. This was an extremely terrifying power. Jianshun exhaled deeply after leaving the Poseidon Hall. Only now did he truly confirm that he was safe. He no longer had to worry about the Poseidon Hall doing anything to harm him. I never thought that the mysterious woman who gave me the water spirit pearl back then would be the goddess of the sea race. No wonder she had to condense a body with her soul. She's only left with her soul now. Jianshun sighed inside. He had already learned the true identity of the mysterious woman from the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall. No wonder the mysterious woman knows about the matters of the Tian Yuan continent. No wonder she dares to speak so arrogantly about helping me fend off the experts of the Beast God continent. So she's one of the 4 supreme experts of the ancient times, Poseidon. Jianshun sighed inside when he thought back to when he first met the mysterious woman. Who would have thought that he would meet the goddess of the sea race as soon as he entered the sea realm? The only sad thing was that he did not know Poseidon's identity back then. Jianshun walked through the Divine Hall alone with the medallion. He followed the path he had taken to enter the Divine Hall and arrived where he had parted ways with Lei Batian and the others very soon. The 5 of them had not left yet. They remained where they were, waiting. However, they all looked at Jianshun strangely. Jianshun, have you seen the esteemed Hall Master? What did the Hall Master say to you? Will he make things difficult for us? Are we safe now? Will we be hunted down by the Poseidon Hall again? Xia Wang asked nervously. The Poseidon Hall was their last refuge. He was afraid that he would not be able to stay in the Poseidon Hall any longer. Jianshun smiled. He could understand Xia Wang's worries. He felt rather exhausted after fleeing for his life for the past few days. Jianshun waved the medallion in his hand and said, "Don't worry, we're safe now. This is the medallion of a guest. You've actually become a guest of the Poseidon Hall." Lei Batian and the others all widened their eyes as they stared at the medallion in Jianshun's hand in disbelief. At that moment, the 4 of them doubted their eyes. A mere saint ruler had actually become a guest of the Poseidon Hall. Suddenly, Mo Xiren's face changed drastically. His eyes immediately widened as he uncontrollably cried out, "This is the presence of an emperor." The medallion in his hand was personally issued by the Hall Master. What? Lei Batian and the others all revealed different expressions once again. Their medallions had all been issued by Hall Elders, but Jianshun's medallion had been personally issued by the Hall Master. Did that not mean that Jianshun's status in the Poseidon Hall was much higher than the 4 of them? Moreover, only the elders of the Divine Hall could enjoy the privilege of having the Temple Master personally issue the token. Jianshun, just what is your relationship with the Hall Master? Why is he so nice to you? Lei Batian asked in a low, muffled voice. He was filled with curiosity, as well as some jealousy and envy. I don't know either, but the Hall Master definitely has his reasons for doing this, Jianshun replied vaguely. He did not explain in detail. Qing Yishuan stared at Jianshun closely as the light in her eyes flickered. Jianshun's heart sank slightly when he sensed Qing Yishuan's gaze, but he soon stopped worrying when he remembered that he was in the Poseidon Hall. He asked, "Senior Qing Yishuan, why are you looking at me like that? You were the 2 juniors who stole the fragmented map of the 8 wastelands from me back then." Qing Yishuan gritted her teeth. Qing Yishuan gritted her teeth as flames of fury burned in her eyes. She hated the person who had taken away her personal belongings. "Senior, may I ask why you say that?" Jianshun was like a dead pig that did not fear boiling water. You still dare to quibble? I don't know what method you used to change your presence, but the treasure on you sold you out. Back then, you hid in the treasure that shone with golden light and suddenly approached me. You stole the fragmented map of the 8 wastelands while I was unprepared. I've never seen or heard of a treasure that can store living people in the sea realm. Only the treasure on you has such an ability. What do you have to say now? Qing Yishuan's face was so sunken that it was about to drip water. Jianchun was immediately at a loss for words. He never thought that it would be the saint artifact that exposed his identity in the end. When he thought about the unique effects of the saint artifact and the extremely eye-catching golden light, Jianchun understood that it would be very difficult to get away with this. Senior really is wise. However, I had no choice about what happened last time. Please forgive me, Senior, Jianchun said apologetically. It really is you. Qing Yishuan's eyes shone with shock. She coldly said, "Why don't you return it to me? Otherwise, I won't hold back even if you're a guest of Hall Poseidon." Qing Yishuan was like an angry lion right now. Her clothes fluttered without any wind while her hair danced wildly. Little brother, after all this, you're the person who stole the fragmented map of the 8 wastelands from Qing Yishuan. Oh my, I'm impressed. I really am impressed. Lei Batian chuckled. He was extremely happy. Mo Ziren, Oyun, and Xiaowang all had strange expressions as well. They faintly smiled. They were filled with admiration for Jianchun's courage. He actually dared to steal something from one of the 8 great human experts as a saint ruler, and even succeeded. This was a rare piece of news. Jianchun awkwardly smiled when he noticed their expressions. Afterward, he looked at Qing Yishuan apologetically and said, "Senior, I'm really sorry. I've offended you last time, so please be magnanimous. I'll return it to you right now." With that, Jianchun directly pulled out a white cloth from his space ring. The white cloth was something that Jianchun had taken from Qing Yishuan. It was folded neatly and still had Qing Yishuan's unique fragrance. Jianchun thought that Qing Yishuan wanted the item back, so he took it out as a show of courtesy. Qing Yishuan's face immediately reddened when she saw the item Jianchun had taken out. The redness directly extended to the roots of her ears, becoming scorching hot. This. Lei Batian and the others obviously noticed the white cloth in Jianchun's hand as well. With their thousands of years of experience, they obviously recognized what it was with a single glance. They were all stunned. Disbelief and disbelief filled their faces. Qing Yishuan, this isn't yours, is it? Lei Batian pointed at the white doo-doo as he stared at the reddened Qing Yishuan. He stuttered. Oyun, Mo Ziren, and Xiaowang's expressions became extremely strange. Their mouths were pulled into a straight line as they tried to hold back their laughter. Qing Yishuan felt even more ashamed when she heard that. She was tempted to find a hole to hide in immediately. She originally wanted Jianchun to take out the fragment of the 8 wastelands, but she had never thought that Jianchun would actually take it out in front of so many people. Chapter 897. Qing Yishuan was furious. She wielded her sword in her right hand as she charged toward Jianchun with a red face and killing intent. Right now, she wanted nothing more than to cut Jianchun into 1,000 pieces. Qing Yishuan, don't forget that this is the Divine Hall, Lei Batian smiled. He had no intentions of stopping her. A resplendent blue light rose up from the ground and enveloped Qing Yishuan. The blue light did not seem very eye-catching, but it was extremely powerful. It formed a cage that trapped Qing Yishuan tightly. Some of the blue light even entered Qing Yishuan's body, sealing her strength so that she could no longer control the saint force within her. You bastard, there will be a day when I personally kill you. Even though Qing Yishuan was trapped, her temper did not decrease at all. She glared at Jianchun viciously as if she wanted to swallow Jianchun whole. Jianchun bitterly smiled when he saw how furious Qing Yishuan was. If Qing Yishuan really wanted to kill him, he would probably be stuck in the Poseidon Hall forever. After all, Jianchun did not even have the ability to flee before Qing Yishuan, who was at the 5th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. Qing Yishuan, little brother Jianchun, is a guest of the Poseidon Hall right now, and he was personally appointed by the Hall Master. If you kill little brother Jianchun, will there still be a place for you in the vast sea realm? Lei Batian snickered. He snickered inside when he saw how Qing Yishuan had been messed around by a junior. I never thought that I would be able to personally witness the scene of such a proud and arrogant woman being humiliated. Haha, this time, Qing Yishuan has really lost all face. Her personal item was actually taken away by a junior. Lei Batian was secretly laughing in his heart. The viciousness in Qing Yishuan's eyes did not decrease at all. She furiously said, "I'll just leave the Sea Realm and return to the Tian Yuan continent." Qing Yishuan, will there still be a place for you on the Tian Yuan continent? Could it be that you still want to go back to that life of a fugitive? Mo Ziren said in a deep voice. Mo Ziren's words immediately calmed Qing Yishuan down. Her eyes flickered with uncertainty, but her hatred for Jianshun did not diminish in the slightest. An old man walked over from the distance and said, "Qing Yishuan, you can be considered a founding elder of the Hall of Poseidon. You should know the rules of the Divine Hall very well. How can you make such a low-level mistake and actually fight in the Divine Hall?" "Greetings, deity's Templar Elder." Lei Batian and the other two cupped their hands towards the old man. "Greetings, Temple Elder." Without any hesitation, Jianshun also bowed towards the old man. The old man was the same hall elder who had taken Jianshun to see the hall master earlier. The way the hall elder looked at Jianshun had changed drastically. He glanced at the white cloth in Jianshun's hand and immediately understood. He could not help but faintly smile. Extending a finger, he controlled the power of the Divine Hall to restore Qing Yishuan's freedom. "Jianshun, as the ruler of the sea race, you will definitely reach my level of cultivation in the future. You should just call me Elder Hong." The elder was very amiable and amiable. Afterward, he looked at the embarrassed Qing Yishuan and said slowly, "Qing Yishuan, Jianshun is the ruler of the sea race. You know just how important he is to our Hall of Poseidon. I hope you won't make an unforgivable mistake over something so trivial." Qing Yishuan gritted her teeth and remained silent. Of course, she knew what a ruler meant to the sea race. He was a future hall elder. He would be able to reach the great perfection of the Holy Emperor at the very least. There was even an extremely great chance that he would become an expert like the Holy Emperor. This was because the original bodies of the temple masters of the three divine halls of the Sea Realm were all kings. Moreover, more than half of the current divine hall elders of the three divine halls were also kings. Then, Elder Hong said to Jianshun, "Jianshun, you are a guest personally appointed by His Majesty. Although you are not powerful enough, you still enjoy all the benefits of a guest. You have an independent palace in the Divine Hall, and you receive 100,000 great quality crystal coins every year." With that, Elder Hong took out a jade pendant and gave it to Jianshun. He continued, "This is the key to the palace. With it, you can find the palace that belongs to you. You can also control the barrier of the palace as you wish. If you want to cultivate, you can open the barrier and isolate yourself from the outside world to prevent any disturbances." "Thank you, Elder Hong." Jianshun clasped his hands in thanks. Elder Hong chuckled and said, "This is the treatment you deserve. There's no need to thank me. All right, since I've given you the item, I've completed the mission His Majesty gave me. It's time for me to leave." Elder Hong turned around and left. "Jianshun, return the 8 wastelands to me." After Elder Hong left, Qing Yishuan's furious voice rang out in Jianshun's ears again. He saw Qing Yishuan glare at Jianshun viciously with a sunken face. Jianshun shook his head. "Senior, I've finally obtained the 8 wastelands after so much effort, and the 8 wastelands is still useful to me. Please forgive me for not being able to return it to you." "You." Qing Yishuan was furious. She pointed at Jianshun, but she was unable to say anything. She did not dare to do anything to Jianshun right now. She forcefully swallowed the threatening words that had just reached her mouth. "Jianshun, I, Qing Yishuan, will never let this matter rest." With that, Qing Yishuan left in a hurry. She snatched the white doo-doo in Jianshun's hand and tore it to pieces. "Hee, little brother Jianshun, you're quite capable. You've actually angered a prideful woman like Qing Yishuan to such a state. I'd like to see how she's going to face anyone in the future. I'd like to see if she's still bold enough to act so lofty in front of us." Lei Batian could not help but snicker evilly after Qing Yishuan vanished. Jianshun, Lei Batian, Oyun, and Mo Ziren chatted casually for a while before leaving. Although Lei Batian and the others were extremely curious about Jianshun's saint artifact that could store living people, they no longer dared to have any improper thoughts after learning about the relationship between Jianshun and His Majesty Poseidon. At this moment, a figure hurried over from the distance. He crossed over 10 kilometers in the blink of an eye and arrived before Jianshun. The person was a hunchbacked old man whose face was filled with wrinkles. He had a head of white hair that was withered, as if he had lost all of his vitality. Ruler's presence, ruler's presence. This is the ruler's presence of my turtle clan. The old man's eyes shone brightly as he stared at Jianshun. He was extremely excited. This is the ruler's presence of my turtle clan. This is the ruler's presence of my turtle clan. A ruler has finally appeared in my turtle clan. The old man's voice trembled as he stared at Jianshun excitedly as he constantly muttered to himself. The ruler's presence of the turtle clan. Jianshun was stunned by the old man's words, but he seemed to think of something soon after. He immediately became surprised and thought, could it be the ruler's presence of the water spirit orb? Could the water spirit orb Poseidon gave me be made from the Niden of the ruler of the turtle clan? Child, tell me, which tribe do you belong to? The old man grabbed Jianshun's hand and excitedly asked, Senior, you've misunderstood. I'm not a member of your tribe, explained Jianshun. He could already tell that the old man was a holy emperor. He was not someone he could afford to offend. If you're not a member of our tribe, then you must be a ruler who grew up in the wilderness. All right, that's even better. I'll take you back to the turtle clan right now. With that, the old man pulled Jianshun away from Poseidon's majesty and flew outside. Oi, Jianshun, wait for me. Evil King chased after Jianshun. The evil king hurriedly chased after him. Now that Jianshun was his backer, he would not leave Jianshun no matter what. It's been 30,000 years. It's been 30,000 years. A ruler has finally appeared in my turtle clan. The old man constantly muttered to himself. He was extremely excited. Senior, you've misunderstood. I'm not a ruler of your turtle clan, Jianshun explained. Jianshun constantly explained as he tried to break free from the old man's hand. However, the old man's hand gripped his arm tightly like a pair of pliers. He was unable to break free no matter how hard he tried. All he could do was let the old man drag him off in an unknown direction. It can't be wrong. It can't be wrong. Clansmen will develop a sense of familiarity with each other's presence. I can sense the ruler's presence from you. So you are without a doubt the ruler of my turtle clan, the old man said with great certainty. After Jianshun was forcefully taken away from the divine hall by the old man, the white-clothed Qing Yishuan silently appeared at the entrance of the divine hall. She coldly stared at Jianshun's back and resentfully said, I never thought that you'd leave Poseidon's majesty so soon. The heavens are really helping me. Once I retrieve the piece of the 8 wastelands in exchange for that item, I'll be able to return to the Tianyuan continent. Qing Yishuan leapt up and directly jumped down from the divine hall. She then concealed her presence and carefully followed in Jianshun's direction. At the same time, the battle between the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall, the disciplinary elder of the Heaven Spirit Hall, and the 8 human experts, Qing Yishuan and the others, caused quite an uproar in the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall. A total of 11 16th-star experts fought and retreated in the air, covering a distance of over 100,000 kilometers. Wherever they passed, the ground below would be reduced to a mess from the powerful shock waves of energy. This alarmed many experts and caused a great uproar in the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Various rumors filled the air. At the same time, an extremely shocking piece of news spread in the territory of the Poseidon Hall. The disciplinary elder of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the 2 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall had actually been captured by the Hall Elder of the Poseidon Hall, Atlantis. Like stray dogs, they were dragged away by a rope in the direction of the divine hall. They had been utterly humiliated. These 2 sensational news quickly spread throughout the entire sea region, and caused a great shock in the hearts of countless sea race people. Subsequently, all kinds of rumors also spread all over the sky. Many people believed that the tranquility of the sea region was about to be broken, and the battle between the three divine palaces was about to start again. The Poseidon Hall was founded by the great Poseidon. It is the unquestionable supreme ruler of our sea realm. We swear to protect the Poseidon Hall with our lives. At the same time, various people who supported the Poseidon Hall expressed their thoughts. Although they were in different territories, many people still placed the Poseidon Hall first. Although the sea goddess had vanished for countless years, the prestige she had left behind still influenced most of her subjects. Within the divine hall of the heavens spirit hall, 5 hall elders knelt on the ground uneasily. Their faces were filled with unconcealable fear. A burly, middle-aged man sat at the very front of the 5 of them. The middle-aged man had an ordinary face. He looked very ordinary, but there was a sense of majesty that made people tremble in fear. "You bunch of trash. You can't even handle such a simple matter." You actually watched as the abyssal crystal slipped away right under your noses, and you even let a disciplinary elder be taken away by the people of the Poseidon Hall. What are the 5 of you doing? You didn't personally handle something as important as the abyssal crystal, and you got your subordinates to do it. What a great opportunity, yet you missed it just like that. The middle-aged man's voice was filled with anger. "Please calm down, Hall Master. It's all our fault. Please punish us, Hall Master," a hall elder said softly. Chapter 898. What's the point of punishing you? Will the abyssal crystal return if I punish you? The Hall Master of the Heavens, Spirit Hall, growled. His eyes shone with a shocking light as a vague, invisible pressure permeated the hall. It was as if the entire world was under his control. My Heaven's Spirit Hall has been utterly humiliated this time. Not only have we allowed 3 14-star juniors to kill 2 elders, but even a disciplinary elder has been taken away by the people of the Poseidon Hall. We need to regain our dignity. We can't let those 3 juniors go, or where will our Heaven's Spirit Hall put its face? Pass on the order for the great Zhou Emperor and Zhou Yunzi to secretly head to the Poseidon Hall and kill those 3 juniors. The Hall Master of the Heavens, Spirit Hall, growled. The great Zhou Emperor and Zhou Yunzi were twin brothers, as well as members of the 8 great human experts. They had reached the 5th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor and were 16-star warriors of the Poseidon Hall. "Yes, Your Majesty," the Divine Hall Elders said respectfully. The Hall Elders by Yin and Charlie currently sat in the largest Divine Hall at the very center of the Serpent God Hall's territory with sunken faces. 2 dusty people stood before them. They were the 2 divine generals who had fled from the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. After hearing the report from the 2 divine generals, the short-tempered Charlie smashed the expensive teacup in his hand to pieces. He said furiously, "The Heaven's Spirit Hall actually dared to get in the way of my Serpent God Hall, ruining our plans in the end. I, Charlie, will remember this. I will definitely repay you in the future." Bayan also sat there silently with a sunken face. The 2 of them were responsible for the loss of the abyssal crystal because they were the ones responsible for the matter in the first place. Sigh, if I had known that my good-for-nothing disciple would mess things up, I wouldn't have sent him on this mission. Bayan sighed, his face full of regret. Charlie was infuriated when he heard that. He pointed at Bayan and roared, "Bayan, this is all your fault. If you hadn't thought yourself clever and said that you were afraid of attracting attention and insisted on sending a few messengers to retrieve this item, how would things have turned out like this? If you had believed me, you would have sent a few elders or me personally. The abyssal crystal would have fallen into our hands a long time ago, and we wouldn't have had to deal with all this. Are you satisfied with the result now? The abyssal crystal has been taken to Pallas Poseidon's territory by those juniors. With Pallas Poseidon's ability, they must have learned of the abyssal crystal's existence. They said that they would never allow this thing to exist and would destroy it as soon as possible. Let's see how you explain this to Palace Master when he comes out of seclusion." Bayan gently sighed. He sat in his chair without saying anything. He understood that the matter of the abyssal crystal had reached a point of no return. "Men, Bring me that son of a bitch, Jensen. I want to pull out his tendons, crawl on his skin, drink his blood, and eat his flesh. Charlie shouted loudly, as if he had gone mad. Very soon, Jensen was dragged over by two guards like they were dragging a dead dog. He seemed to know what was about to happen. His face was pale from fright, without a single trace of blood. Spare me, Hall Elder. Spare me. I know my wrongs. I know my wrongs. I know my wrongs. I will never make such a huge mistake again. Master, save me. Master, save me. Kneeling on the ground, Jensen kept kowtowing and begging for mercy. He was no longer as lofty and domineering as he was outside. Currently, Jensen was filled with regret. If he had known that things would turn out like this, he would never have offended Jinshin in the first place. Right now, he wished that he could turn back time and return to that period of time so that he could make another choice. You've made such a huge mistake, and you still want to beg for mercy? You're delusional. Charlie's eyes were filled with killing intent. He directly stabbed his hand into the back of Jensen's neck and pulled. A bloodied tendon was ripped out of Jensen's body. Jensen let out a painful scream. His whole body fell to the ground and struggled violently. The pain of cramping was unbearable for him. Afterwards, Jensen's body began to change at a visible rate. He began to expand rapidly, and in just a few seconds, he became a 5-meter-long sea creature. He seemed like a snake, but he wasn't a snake. He seemed like a serpent, but he wasn't a serpent either. This was Jensen's original form. With his tendons ripped out, Jensen was unable to maintain his human form. He did not die immediately, but he was on the verge of death. Seeing Jensen's fate, Bai Yin let out a soft sigh. Jensen's mistake was far too grave. Even if he had extraordinary talent, even if he was his disciple, there was no way for him to escape death. Take this piece of trash away. Once I deal with the matters here, I'll deal with him properly, Charlie said furiously as he held the bleeding tendon in his hand. Very soon, Jensen was dragged away by two guards, leaving behind a large pool of blood in the hall. Bai Yin pondered for a while before standing up from his chair. He said, although this is Jensen's fault, the people who stole it cannot be forgiven either. Tell Li Fengxing to personally pay a visit to the Poseidon Hall. The people who stole the abyssal crystal cannot be forgiven either. I want them to die without a grave. Charlie clenched his fists tightly as his gaze became extremely terrifying. Before long, a white-robed, middle-aged man left the Serpent God Hall. He turned into a white streak of light and flew toward the territory of the Poseidon Hall with lightning-like speed. He was Li Fengxing, the leader of the 5 sea magical beasts. He was a mutated beast with extremely great battle prowess. Jianshan, who was in the territory of the Poseidon Hall, had no idea that the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall had sent experts over. He was currently being pulled away by the old man from the Turtle Clan. They had already left the Divine Hall, and after crossing over 300,000 kilometers, they finally stopped before a large tribe. It was a large tribe. All the houses in the tribe were condensed from earth through a technique. They were extremely tough, like steel. A large archway stood before the entrance of the tribe. The words Turtle Clan were written on it in large, forceful strokes. The words were simple, and no one knew how long they had existed. The presence of time still lingered on them. Our Turtle Clan is a large clan in the Sea Realm. We have many members and are basically scattered across the entire Sea Realm. We have countless branches as well. We may not be a peak organization, but we do have some fame in the Sea Realm. This tribe is the headquarters of our Turtle Clan, explained the old man. After explaining to Jianshan, he pulled Jianshan in without any explanation. He did not allow Jianshan to resist at all. Greetings to the Grand Elder. The Earth Saint Master Guards at the entrance clearly recognized the old man from the Turtle Clan. They all politely bowed to him before looking at Jianshan. They became surprised and doubtful. Jianshan's ruler's presence could only be sensed by outsiders who cultivated secret techniques. If they encountered someone from the same clan, they would naturally sense it through their bloodline. The guards were all from the Turtle Clan, so they could sense a pressure that seemed to originate from the soul from Jianshan. For some reason, they felt a sliver of fear for Jianshan. Greetings to the Grand Elder. Greetings to the Grand Elder. There were quite a few people moving about in the Turtle Clan. The old man pulled Jianshan by the hand and made his way to the majestic hall. Along the way, all the people they came across politely bowed to the old man before curiously studying Jianshan. They were surprised and doubtful. All the people of the Turtle Clan could sense a pressure that originated from Jianshan's bloodline. They all felt respect and fear for some reason when they saw Jianshan's back, causing them to become confused. They had no idea why they would feel this way toward a stranger. "Sound the bell and summon all the elders to the hall for a meeting," ordered the old man. Afterward, he pulled Jianshan into the majestic hall by the hand and forcefully pressed Jianshan onto the throne. Jianshan could not resist at all. "Senior, you've misunderstood. I really am not your ruler." Jianshan's heart was filled with bitterness. He had already lost count of how many times he had said it, but the old man still insisted that he was the ruler of the Turtle Clan. "Ruler, there's no need to say anything more. You are without a doubt the ruler of the Turtle Clan. This is an indisputable fact. I'm taking you back to the Turtle Clan right now so that you can inherit the position of ruler and make up for the lack of a ruler in the past 30,000 years, the old man said firmly, confirming Jianshan's identity. The heavy sound of the bell rang through the entire clan. Very soon, people hurried over from all directions and gathered in the hall. There were around a dozen people in total. They varied in age, but they were all saint rulers. As soon as they entered the hall, they discovered Jianshan sitting on the throne. They all became stunned and became uncertain. This is the ruler's presence. A middle-aged man stared closely at Jianshan and cried out in surprise. He seemed to be rather uncertain. It had been far too long since the ruler of the Turtle Clan had appeared. "This is the ruler's presence of our Turtle Clan. Is he the new ruler of our clan? It's been 30,000 years since a ruler has appeared in our clan. I never thought that a ruler would appear now. Just when did a ruler appear? Why do we not know about it before?" Everyone in the hall discussed. They had all recognized the ruler's presence from Jianshan. "Grand Elder, why haven't you been cultivating in the Divine Hall? Why have you come back? And why have you gathered all of us as soon as you've returned? Have you brought back some important news?" At this moment, an old voice rang out from outside the hall. Two skinny old men walked in side by side, while several saint rulers of various ages followed behind them. "It's another Holy Emperor-level expert." Jianshan was surprised when he saw the two old men at the very front. The Turtle Clan actually possessed 3 Holy Emperor-level experts. It was quite a large force. The Grand Elder stood beside Jianshan and stared at the two old men deeply. He smiled. "Second Elder, Third Elder, you've come the right time. Now that the ruler of our Turtle Clan has appeared, it's time for our clan to return to its former glory." Chapter 899. The ruler's presence of our Turtle Clan. He really is the ruler of our Turtle Clan. The Second Elder and Third Elder were secretly surprised. Their gazes toward Jianshan underwent a slight change. It became rather complicated. The Grand Elder glanced at everyone below and proudly said, "I believe everyone can sense the ruler's chi of my Turtle Clan. This is the ruler that hasn't appeared in the past 30,000 years. Only under the leadership of the ruler will my Turtle Clan be able to advance towards glory. Everyone, why don't you bow when you see the ruler?" A portion of them immediately knelt down, planning on bowing to Jianshan. "Hold on." The Second Elder stopped them from bowing. He stared at Jianshan with shining eyes and clasped his hands. "May I ask what your name is and which tribe you come from? Why haven't we heard anything about you before? Where did you come from?" The Second Elder asked boldly. His tone was rather rude, as if he did not treat the ruler of the Turtle Clan with any importance at all. Jianshan sat there calmly in silence. He felt like there was no need for him to answer the Second Elder, because only he knew that he was not the ruler of the Turtle Clan. Everything originated from the water spirit pearl that His Majesty Poseidon had given him. The Grand Elder's expression suddenly changed when he heard the Second Elder's words. He growled, "Second Elder, what do you mean by that? Are you questioning the ruler? Can't you sense the ruler's presence?" "Calm down, Grand Elder. This person does possess the presence of the ruler of our Turtle Clan, but we don't know anything about him. We've never heard anything about the ruler of our turtle clan either, so I feel like we need to understand this person's identity. After all, once the ruler of our turtle clan takes on the role, it'll affect the fate of our entire clan. We can't be careless, the second elder leisurely replied. The grand elder was furious. Second elder, it's only right for the ruler of the turtle clan to inherit the position of ruler of the turtle clan because he is, without a doubt, the king of all the people of the turtle clan. As the people of the ruler, we have no right to question the ruler's identity. Now, as the grand elder, I declare that the position of patriarch of the turtle clan will be removed from today onwards. The entire clan will obey the king's orders. Is there anyone who disagrees? First elder, if you want to remove him from the position of clan leader, all three of us must agree. Right now, I am rejecting your decision to remove him from the position of clan leader because the identity of the king is unknown, the second elder said. Grand elder, he does indeed possess the presence of a ruler of our turtle clan, but his arrival is just far too strange. At the same time, the matter of becoming a ruler is extremely important, so I don't think we can rush this matter. Why don't we put it aside for now and discuss it in the future? The third elder expressed his opinion as well, standing on the same side as the second elder. Why? You're actually looking down on the ruler of the turtle clan. This is outrageous, the grand elder furiously said as he pointed at the second and third elders. He was extremely angry before glancing at the other people in the hall. He sternly asked, "What do you think? Do you not agree with the ruler of the turtle clan like the second and third elders?" The saint rulers all looked at each other with a troubled expression. In the end, they all closed their mouths and remained silent. They had all silently agreed to stand on the same side as the second and third elders. Good. I never thought that you people would look down on old man, even though he spends most of his time cultivating in the divine hall and rarely interferes with the matters of the tribe. The great elder was so angry that he slammed his walking stick on the ground, and his chest heaved up and down violently. Jianshun calmly observed the situation, but he secretly rejoiced inside. This was obviously the outcome he wanted to see the most, because he had no interest in becoming the ruler of the turtle clan. He would leave the sea realm sooner or later. Seeing that the time was about right, Jianshun stood up from his chair and said, "Grand elder, there's no need to waste your breath. I will not become the ruler of the turtle clan. I will be taking my leave now." With that, Jianshun directly made his way out of the hall without any reluctance. No one in the hall dared to stop Jianshun. Although no one could accept Jianshun's identity, because of the second and third elders, his ruler's presence was genuine. No one dared to offend him. The grand elder furiously stood before the throne. He was no longer shameless enough to keep Jianshun after what had happened, so he allowed Jianshun to leave. As soon as Jianshun arrived at the entrance of the turtle tribe, he saw the evil king arguing with a few guards at the entrance with a displeased expression. He had followed Jianshun all the way from the divine hall, but he was not as fast as the grand elder, so he was left far behind. When he arrived, Jianshun and the grand elder had already entered. Without the grand elder leading the way, it was obviously impossible for him to enter the turtle clan as an outsider. The assassin was arguing with the guards at the entrance. "Evil king," Jianshun called out, and quickly made his way over to the evil king. The evil king immediately stopped paying attention to the guards when he saw Jianshun emerge. He studied Jianshun and said, "You've finally come out. What's the situation? Have you become the ruler of the turtle clan?" The guards immediately became surprised when they heard the evil king call Jianshun the ruler of the turtle clan. Their gazes toward Jianshun finally underwent an overwhelming change. Only now did they finally understand why they felt respect and fear for Jianshun from the bottom of their hearts. He was actually the ruler of the turtle clan. Let's not talk about this. Let's go. Jianshun nonchalantly made his way out of the entrance under the mixed gazes of the guards. He then took to the air and left. The evil king stared at Jianshun's back in doubt. He sank into his thoughts, but he said nothing and left with Jianshun. "Boy, what happened to you in the turtle clan? Did they mistake you for someone else? Are you not the ruler of the turtle clan?" The evil king quickly caught up to Jinshin and asked curiously. Correct, they were mistaken. I really am not the ruler of the Turtle Clan, Jinshin replied. He was extremely calm. He did not care about what had happened in the Turtle Clan at all. However, as soon as Jinshin finished speaking, the surrounding space froze. It firmly immobilized Jinshin and the evil king in the air. The white-clothed Qing Yishuan appeared before the two of them. Her face was icy cold as she glared at Jinshin. She called out, "Humph, I'd like to see where you run off to now." Jinshin's eyes narrowed. Senior Qing Yishuan, do you still want to kill me? I may not be able to kill you, but you can't stop me from taking back the map fragment of the 8 wastelands, Qing Yishuan coldly said. She directly removed the space ring on Jinshin's finger and immediately began to rummage through it. Jinshin smiled playfully. He knew that Qing Yishuan was following him long ago, so he had switched out his space ring long ago. He had tossed the space ring that truly contained valuable items into the artifact space. Qing Yishuan rummaged through the space ring, but failed to find any traces of the 8 wastelands. Her face immediately sank as she glared at Jinshin viciously. She angrily yelled, "Speak! Where did you put the map fragment of the 8 wastelands?" Senior Qing Yishuan, the 8 wastelands are of great use to me, so I won't return it to you, Jinshin said. All right, since you won't hand it over, don't blame me for being rude. I may not be able to kill you, but I have plenty of ways to torture you. Come with me. Qing Yishuan arrived before Jinshin in a flash. She extended her slender, white fingers and directly grabbed Jinshin's clothes. Afterwards, she looked at Xie Wang and said, "To prevent you from leaking information, come with me as well." Qing Yishuan used her other hand to grab Xie Wang as well. She was about to take the two of them away. Qing Yishuan, how bold of you to treat the ruler of the Turtle Clan like this. At this moment, a yell rang out from behind. The Grand Elder of the Turtle Clan radiated with a tremendous presence as he aggressively flew over. God damn it. Why did this old turtle have to come now of all times? He's ruining my plans. Qing Yishuan frowned, but she did not let go of Jinshin and Xie Wang. Qing Yishuan, why don't you release the ruler of the Turtle Clan? Or don't blame me for reporting this to the Hall Master, the Grand Elder called out as he stood before Qing Yishuan. At that moment, he did not seem short at all with his hunched back. He did not seem short at all. Qing Yishuan's eyes became filled with deep fear when she heard him mention the Hall Master. She thought, the Hall Master values this person very much and has even personally appointed him as a guest of the Turtle Clan. If this old turtle reports that I've captured this person to the Hall Master, I'll definitely be in trouble. Sigh, whatever. Qing Yishuan immediately gave up on the idea of capturing Jinshin. She coldly said, I'll let you go this time. If you don't return the 8 wastelands to me, I'll never let you go. With that, Qing Yishuan turned around and left. She moved extremely quickly, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Ruler, are you all right? The Grand Elder arrived before Jinshin and asked in concern. It's a good thing that the Grand Elder made it in time, or I might have been in trouble, Jinshin gratefully replied. Some worry appeared on the Grand Elder's face. Qing Yishuan is powerful, and her attacks are sharp. Our Turtle Clan focuses on defense, and our attacks are weak. If we really were to fight her, I would definitely lose. It's a good thing that she fears the Hall Master, or I really wouldn't be able to do anything to her. Ruler, Qing Yishuan has already set her eyes on you. You should return to the clan with me. As long as you remain in the clan, Qing Yishuan won't be bold enough to cause trouble no matter how bold she is. Although our Turtle Clan is not powerful, we're still a founding member of the Poseidon Hall. An outsider like her won't be bold enough to cause trouble in our clan. Thank you for your concern, Grand Elder, but the Turtle Clan is not a place for me to stay. I have other places to go. Jinshin declined. The Grand Elder sighed. The ruler is still angry about what happened earlier. It has already been 30,000 years since a ruler has appeared in our Turtle Clan, which is why the ruler's deterrence towards our clan has decreased. However, don't worry, ruler. I will definitely deal with the matters of the clan as soon as possible so that the ruler can successfully succeed the throne. Chapter 900. Jianshin was filled with helplessness when he heard the Grand Elder's words. He knew that the Grand Elder would not believe him no matter how he tried to explain himself. With his inflexible personality, he was certain that he possessed the presence of a ruler. Should I reveal my true identity or not? That's probably the only way for the Grand Elder to believe that I'm not some ruler of the Turtle Clan, Jianshin thought. He was already hesitating over revealing his identity to the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder sighed. My Turtle Clan was once a peak clan in the Sea Realm. Even with the entire Sea Realm in perspective, we ranked in the top 10. During our peak, we produced 4 rulers in a row, and every single one of them was at the peak of the 16th star. They were at the level of Hall Elders. At that time, no one dared to provoke the Turtle Clan aside from the 3 Divine Halls. It's a pity that after so many years, the strength of the Turtle Clan has declined with each generation. The number of rulers has constantly decreased, and the strength of the entire clan has rapidly declined as well. We've already fallen from being a peak clan in the Sea Realm to this mediocre clan, and no one with the bloodline of a ruler has appeared in 30,000 years. If this continues, we'll probably become weaker and weaker. In the end, we'll be swallowed up by other powerful clans. A sliver of pain appeared on the Grand Elder's face. As an old man of the Turtle Clan, he really did not want to see something like this happen. Ruler, you are the hope of my Turtle Clan. Only under your lead can the Turtle Clan reach its former glory and achieve what it once was. I hope the ruler can return to the Turtle Clan. Old Man will definitely assist the ruler with everything he has, the Grand Elder pleaded to Jianshin. His face was filled with hope. Grand Elder, don't say any more. I'm not a member of your Turtle Clan, so I won't go back with you. Jianshin rejected the Grand Elder's request without any hesitation before leaving with Xie Wang. Ruler, if you don't come back with me, I'll stay by your side the entire time. The Grand Elder was stubborn as he immediately followed Jianshin. Jianshin was extremely happy to have the Grand Elder follow him. With a holy emperor by his side, he did not need to worry about Qing Yishuan coming to find him again. Jianshin flew in the direction of the Divine Hall with Xie Wang, while the Grand Elder followed by his side. Jianshin had been in the Sea Region world for nearly a month now. During this time, he had been tied up with some trivial matters and had not been able to properly cultivate it all. This had already gone against his purpose of coming to the Sea Region. As a result, Jianshin planned on cultivating in the Divine Hall for extended periods of time. Once his strength increased, he would immediately return to the Tianyuan continent. After the 3 of them flew for a distance of 5,000 kilometers, a city appeared before Jianshin's eyes. Jianshin directly flew over the city. However, when he approached the center of the city, his eyes suddenly narrowed. He suddenly looked down and immediately descended, landing on the bustling streets of the city. Before Jianshin was a castle-like building. It was constructed in an extremely grand manner, and people came and went from the wide open entrance. It was very busy, the pavilion of wondrous treasures. Jianshin softly murmured when he saw the large, flamboyant words on the signboard. A gleam of excitement flickered through his eyes as he made his way to the pavilion of wondrous treasures. Esteemed warriors, how may I be of service to you? As soon as they entered the pavilion of wondrous treasures, a sharp-eyed worker who was adept at reading people ran over. He circled around Jianshin and the others with an enchanting smile. He was extremely enthusiastic. Take me to the 5th floor. Jianshin behaved like an expert, directly tossing a supreme quality crystal coin to the worker. He was so generous that it attracted the curious gazes of the people in the surroundings toward Jianshin. The taste of a warrior really is something that ordinary people can't compare to. The 5th floor is where the most valuable items are stored in our pavilion of wondrous treasures. It's not a place that ordinary people can go up. Only great figures like you have the right to go up there. The worker was overjoyed to receive a supreme quality crystal coin so easily. He continuously flattered Jianshin. Cut the crap. Lead the way, Jianshin said rather impatiently. Yes, yes, yes. I will lead the way immediately. Please come this way. Seeing that Jianshin was already unhappy, The worker immediately stopped talking nonsense and directly led Jianshan upstairs. Jianshan was led by the worker to the 5th floor of the Pavilion of Wondrous Treasures. Although the 5th floor was the same size as the 1st floor, the items placed here were much rarer. There were only a few items, but every one of them was a rare treasure. At this moment, there were more than 20 people in gorgeous clothes surrounding a few treasures and looking them up and down. Among these people, a tall woman in white clothes was the most eye-catching. The woman had a face that could topple countries and cities. Her skin was like mutton fat that could be broken by the slightest touch. Her pair of limpid eyes were filled with a ruthless coldness, revealing a coldness that repelled people thousands of miles away. When she stood with these people, she was like a flower stuck in cow dung. She was so dazzling that no one could ignore her existence. Her existence caused all the officials and nobles who were looking at the treasures to steal glances at her from the corner of their eyes. Although their gazes were fixed on the treasures, their minds were not on the treasures at all. Beside the woman was a handsome, well-dressed young man with an extraordinary bearing. He had a sunny smile on his face as he said something to the woman. The gaze he used to look at the woman was filled with infatuation. There was undisguised adoration in his eyes. Beside the young man were 2 middle-aged men dressed like servants. They were expressionless and had cold gazes. They were both 6th cycle heaven Saint Masters. In the sea realm, fighting was forbidden in the cities, yet the young man had 2 6th cycle heaven Saint Master guards following him in the city. From this, it could be seen that his identity was definitely not ordinary. He was definitely the young master of a large clan. Miss, I've already introduced myself, but I still don't know your name. I don't know which organization you are from or where you cultivate, the young man said with a gentle smile. The young man said with a smile beside the woman in white. His tone was soft, his attitude was gentle, and he was very amiable. The young man was called Nanyan Lai. He was the young master of the Nanyan clan. His great-grandfather was the current patriarch of the Nanyan clan. There is probably no one who did not know the Nanyan clan in a radius of several 100,000 kilometers. The Nanyan clan was a well-known clan in the territory of the Poseidon Hall. They possessed 15-star experts, and there were 2 of them. They were an overlord that reigned over a region. They were fully worthy of being called a first-rate organization. They even controlled several medium-sized tribes and clans, so their range of influence was even greater. The woman's expression was cold. She completely ignored Nanyan Lai, who was blabbering on beside her. Her cold eyes stared unblinkingly at the sword before her. The long sword was only 2 fingers wide, and its body was bright like a mirror. It emitted a layer of hazy treasure light, and a vast and terrifying energy was faintly circulating within the body of the sword. At this moment, the woman's expression changed. She suddenly turned around, and her cold eyes immediately locked onto Jianshan. The moment she saw Jianshan, her eyes immediately sharpened as she gritted her teeth. The woman was one of the 8 great human experts, Qing Yishuan. The Xiaowang's expression immediately changed when he saw Qing Yishuan. He said through a communication technique, "God damn it! Why is she here? Jianshan, why have you come here for no reason? We can't even hide from this person, yet you're throwing yourself at her." Jianshan ignored the Xiaowang. He glanced between Qing Yishuan and Nanyan Lai for a while before revealing a strange expression. He said nothing and directly walked towards Qing Yishuan. In the end, he stopped before the sword. As soon as Jianshan's gaze landed on the sword, his eyes immediately burned with desire, as if he had discovered a supreme treasure. He was drooling with desire. He knew that the sword before him was definitely at least 10 times more powerful than the dragon-slaying sword. Jianshan extended his trembling hand towards the hilt of the sword. However, as soon as his hand came in contact with the hilt, a sharp sword chi immediately shot out, piercing through Jianshan's chaotic body and injuring his hand. Immediately, blood began to flow from the wound. Jianshan was secretly surprised when he felt the piercing pain from his hand. The power of the sword had exceeded his imagination. He had never thought that just a single strand of sword chi would be so powerful, even piercing through his chaotic body. If it were someone else with similar strength, they would definitely end up in an even more miserable state. With a thought, the chaotic Naiden in Jinshin's dantian immediately began to emit strands of chaotic force, pushing the defenses of the chaotic body to the limit. Afterward, he reached for the hilt of the sword once more. Sharp sword chi immediately shot out when his hand came in contact with the hilt. It left behind white marks on Jinshin's hand, but it was unable to harm Jinshin at all now. A sliver of surprise immediately appeared in Qing Yishuan's eyes when she saw this. She was shocked by the strength of Jinshin's body. This is a weapon left behind by a human expert at the end of their lifespan. It should be a king weapon, left behind by the Holy Emperor of the Ninth Heavenly Layer. The Grand Elder sighed in amazement as he studied the sword without blinking. Jinshin was unable to contain his excitement when he heard that. He picked up the sword and carefully studied it. Joy filled his face as he murmured, "A king weapon. It really is a saint weapon left behind by the Holy Emperor of the Ninth Heavenly Layer. It really is extraordinarily powerful. This sword suits me just too well. Put down the king weapon. You're not worthy of possessing one with your strength." Qing Yishuan coldly called out to Jinshin. Qing Yishuan coldly stared at Jinshin and called out. She absolutely hated Jinshin inside, but she dared not do anything to Jinshin with the Grand Elder by his side. "Who says I'm not worthy? I want this King's Saint artifact. Shopkeeper, what's the price of this weapon?" Jinshin's attention was completely focused on the King's Saint artifact. He was extremely excited. His dragon-slaying sword had already become slightly damaged, and as his strength increased in the future, the sword would become less and less useful to him. If he reached the third layer of the chaotic body, the dragon-slaying sword would not be able to endure chaotic force anymore. The king weapon, left behind by the Holy Emperor of the Ninth Heavenly Layer, just happened to solve his problem. Chapter 901. Qing Yishuan's face changed slightly when she heard that Jinshin actually wanted to buy the king weapon. She yelled out, "I saw this sword first, so I'll be the first to buy it." "It's not your turn yet." Qing Yishuan had always been an expert with the sword, and the saint weapon she used was basically the same as the king weapon. The sword was extremely important to her. With her strength at the fifth heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor, obtaining a king weapon would be like giving wings to a tiger. She would be able to challenge experts at the seventh heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. As a result, Qing Yishuan swore that she would obtain the king weapon. Although ruler armaments were not rare in the Sea Realm, she no longer had any use for them with her strength. Only king weapons and emperor armaments could be of use to her. However, these two weapons were extremely rare even on the Tian Yuan continent, let alone in the Sea Realm where humans were scarce. "Senior, since you want this sword, why haven't you bought it after looking at it for so long? The sword is in my hands now. Jinshin, will be taking it," Jinshin firmly said. The king weapon had helped him far too much, so he was determined to obtain it. Although he would offend Qing Yishuan, he had already come into conflict with Qing Yishuan, so he did not mind making the conflict a little worse. Qing Yishuan's pretty face had already paled from anger. She stared at Jinshin furiously and coldly said, "I've already decided on this sword. It already belongs to me. You can't buy this sword before I give up on it. I want the sword right now. May I ask if I can obtain the right to purchase it before anyone else?" Jinshin asked, but he looked at an old man who walked over from nearby. The old man gave off the presence of a great scholar. He was a ninth heavenly layer saint ruler, so Jinshin knew that he was the shopkeeper. "You two have sharp eyes. We've only obtained this king weapon recently. We just placed it here for 3 days. We originally thought that we wouldn't be able to sell it, so we planned on auctioning it off in a large auction in the future. I never thought that we'd come across someone who knows what's good for it so quickly. I've really been surprised." The shopkeeper chuckled as he walked over. He studied Jinshin and Qing Yishuan without leaving any trace. He knew that the two of them possessed great origins and that he could not offend either of them. The shopkeeper arrived before the king weapon and continued, "This young lady may be interested in this king weapon, but she hasn't paid a deposit. nor has she discussed it with the store. According to the rules, if you want to buy the sword, you only need to pay the right price, and the sword will be yours. As long as you pay the price. Qing Yishuan became worried when she heard that. She said with a heavy voice, "Shopkeeper, I want the sword as well. I don't have enough crystal coins on me right now, so I've already contacted my friends to bring crystal coins. Can you give me some time?" The shopkeeper hesitated. He was rather troubled. Hearing that Qing Yishuan did not have enough crystal coins, a smile appeared on Nanyun Lai's face. He said, "Since you like this sword called Sacred Ruler Armament, then let me buy it for you." "Shopkeeper, I, Nanyun Lai, want this sword. Put on my Nanyun clan's tab. My Nanyun clan will naturally send someone to pay the crystal coins." With that, Nanyun Lai glanced at Jianshin provocatively. He knew that Jianshin was not weak, but he did not care at all because he was the young master of the Nanyun clan, a clan that possessed two 15-star experts. Jianshin sneered when he noticed Nanyun Lai's provocative gaze. He could tell with a single glance that Nanyun Lai was only a wastrel. Perhaps he did not even know what a king weapon was. "Shopkeeper, may I ask how much this king weapon costs?" Jianshin asked. 50 million supreme-grade crystal coins, replied the shopkeeper. "What 50 million top-grade crystal coins?" Nanyun Lai immediately leapt in fright when he heard the price. He asked in disbelief, "Shopkeeper, are you sure? A sword like this is worth 50 million? Young Master Nanyun Lai, looks like you don't know the origins of the king weapon. If this king weapon is taken to the Tian Yuan continent, it'll cause a storm of blood. 50 million is already a low price," explained the shopkeeper. "How can 50 million top-grade crystal coins be so expensive?" Nanyun Lai's face became ugly. He felt extremely awkward. He knew nothing about the matters of the Tian Yuan continent, so he obviously did not know how valuable a king weapon was. He originally wanted to buy the king weapon and gift it to the woman beside him so that he could win her affection, but he had never thought that the king weapon would be so expensive. It had reached the high price of 50 million supreme-grade crystal coins. Even to the Nanyun clan, 50 million was a great fortune. It was not something he could use. Qing Yishuan did not even glance at Nanyun Lai. She took out a medallion and waved it before the shopkeeper. She said, "Shopkeeper, this is my identity medallion. May I ask if you can give me some time?" This is..." The shopkeeper recognized the medallion in Qing Yishuan's hand with a single glance, and his face immediately changed drastically. "Don't think that you're the only one with something like that. I have one as well. Shopkeeper, this is my identity medallion. I want this king weapon." Jianshin took out his identity medallion as well. The shopkeeper paled the moment he saw Jianshin take out his identity medallion. He directly vomited a mouthful of blood as he staggered backwards. His gaze toward Jianshin was filled with fear as his heart churned. He had seen a hazy figure sitting in a majestic divine hall through the medallion. He radiated with a great pressure, causing the world to tremble. It was as if he was a god, sacred and inviolable. Although he did not recognize the hazy figure, he had an inexplicable idea of the figure's identity the moment he saw it. It was the Hall Master of the Poseidon Hall, one of the 3 supreme experts of the sea region. The shopkeeper's gaze toward Jianshin had completely changed. It was a gaze of fear because he understood that someone who could take out a medallion like that was definitely an extremely important figure in the Divine Hall. Even the person behind the scenes of the rare treasure house would not dare to offend him. "Shopkeeper, who are you selling this king weapon to now?" Jianshin took back the medallion and said with a faint smile as he looked at the frightened shopkeeper, "Honorable warrior, it is this lowly one who did not recognize Mount Tai. If there was any disrespect earlier, please forgive me. This lowly one will naturally sell this king weapon to you." The shopkeeper's attitude toward Jianshin had a great change, becoming respectful. Seeing the shopkeeper's expression toward Jianshin, Nanyun Lai couldn't help feeling curious. He wondered just what was the identity of this young man to actually make the shopkeeper of the rare treasure house treat him with such respect. Even he, the young master of the Nanyun clan, would not be able to enjoy such treatment. Also, just what is the identity of this young lady to be able to boast about buying a king weapon worth 50 million crystal coins? Such a large sum of money is definitely not something an ordinary person could take out. Looking at her appearance, she doesn't even frown. Moreover, what is the medallion she showed the shopkeeper just now? It actually caused the shopkeeper to turn pale with fright. Could it be that her identity is also not ordinary? Nanyan Lai began to have suspicions in his heart. However, he seemed to have thought of something soon after. He felt a burst of joy in his heart. He said, "If I, Nanyan Lai, am able to make contact with this lady and make her my companion, then my position in the clan will definitely rise to another level." When he thought up to here, strong confidence instantly swelled in Nanyan Lai's heart. He was the young master of the Nanyan clan and possessed a deep background. Moreover, he was handsome, confident, and elegant. He believed that so long as he put in some effort, he would surely be able to melt the icy cold heart of this woman before him. "Young lady, isn't it just a king weapon? There are weapons like this everywhere in the sea realm. Once I return, I will immediately order the people of the clan to search for a king weapon in the sea realm. I believe it won't be long before you find a king weapon that's exactly the same as this one. I just don't know your name or where you live. If I find a king weapon, I'll be able to send it to you as soon as possible." Nanyan Lai immediately launched a fierce attack on Qing Yishuan. However, Nanyan Lai's thoughts of a toad wanting to eat swan meat were destined to fail. Qing Yishuan coldly stared at Nanyan Lai and said, "If you dare say another word of nonsense, I'll immediately throw you out." Nanyan Lai's face changed slightly when he saw that his enthusiasm had actually been met with her cold gaze. He said, "Young lady, I am from the Nanyan clan." Nanyan Lai wanted to use his clan's name to intimidate Qing Yishuan, but before he could finish speaking, Qing Yishuan directly waved her hand. Immediately, a huge force struck Nanyan Lai, sending him flying. He crashed through the window and onto the street outside. "How dare you injure the young master of my Nanyan clan?" The two guards that Nanyan Lai had brought with him both roared furiously. They charged at Qing Yishuan at the same time. However, Qing Yishuan merely waved her hand gently, and the two guards immediately followed in Nanyan Lai's footsteps. They were both sent flying by a powerful force, smashing through the window and landing on the street. Although the shopkeeper saw all of this, he did not dare to stop Qing Yishuan. After all, he clearly recognized the guest medallion in Qing Yishuan's hand. Jianshin had already taken out a large pile of crystal coins from his space ring. Afterward, he borrowed some from the Grand Elder of the Turtle Clan and gathered 50 million supreme grade crystal coins to buy the king armament. He stowed it away in his space ring under Qing Yishuan's furious gaze. "Senior, farewell." Jianshan clasped his hands at Qing Yishuan before leaping out of the window with Xiao Wang and the others. He directly rose into the sky and left. Qing Yishuan stared at Jianshan's departing figure with a sunken face. Jianshan had first stolen the map fragment of the 8 wastelands that she had paid a heavy price for and even violated her. Now he had actually stolen the king armament that she valued so much. Qing Yishuan's hatred for Jianshan had reached the limit. "You're the first person of the younger generation who dares to openly oppose me. There will be a day when I, Qing Yishuan, make you regret it. I refuse to believe that old Turtle will stay by your side and protect you for the rest of your life," Qing Yishuan said through gritted teeth before disappearing from the Pavilion of Rarities with a flash. As soon as Qing Yishuan had left, Nanyan Lai charged to the 5th floor furiously. He furiously said, "How dare they treat this young master like this? They're looking down on the Nanyan clan. Where are they?" Nanyan Lai looked around and had already lost sight of Qing Yishuan and Jianshin. "Shopkeeper, where are they? Where did they run off to? They want to run off after hitting this young master? How could it be so easy?" Nanyan Lai had nowhere to vent his anger, so he shouted at the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper stared at Nanyan Lai with a sneer and said, "Young Master Nanyan Lai, they've already shown great mercy by not crippling you. Not only do you not know what's good for you, you even want to take revenge. If you really do anger them, your Nanyan clan will be dragged into it. Do you know who that woman is? Then tell me who she is. I'll definitely go find her in the future," Nanyan Lai sneered. The medallion that woman took out showed her identity as a guest elder of the palace of Poseidon. To be able to become a guest elder of the palace of Poseidon, she's definitely no ordinary person. According to her appearance, I believe she should be one of the 8 great human experts, Qing Yishuan, a 16-star warrior of the Poseidon. The shopkeeper sneered at Nanyan Lai. What? Shopkeeper, what did you say? Chapter 902. Jianshun, Xia Wang, and the Grand Elder left the city together. The 3 of them flew high in the sky, while Jianshun constantly studied the saint armament in his hand. He would gently stroke the mirror-like surface of the sword from time to time as unconcealable fondness filled his face. This saint armament suits me just too well. With this saint armament, I can even put up a fight against regular 15-star Poseidon warriors, Jianshun murmured to himself. His voice was filled with joy. Saint armaments were extremely powerful. They were not as docile as ruler armaments. If they were ruler armaments, even an Earth Saint Master would be able to use them. They would only be able to use 20% of their power without any side effects. However, Jianshun's Saint armament could release strands of sharp sword qi on its own. It was impossible to use it without the strength of a holy emperor, or they would probably be injured by the weapon before they could even use it. Jianshun needed to circulate his chaotic force in order to wield the Saint armament. He needed to use the defenses of the chaotic body to ensure that he would not be injured by the sword qi. However, even with that being the case, his hand that gripped the Saint armament was left with white marks from the sword qi. The Grand Elder could not help but sigh inside after witnessing the defenses of Jianshun's body. He really is the ruler of our turtle clan. His body's defenses are actually so great. He's basically using the specialties of our turtle clan to the fullest. Saint armaments are extremely rare on the Tianyuan continent. Only a few ancient clans possess some. I never thought that I would be able to obtain such a rare item so easily. Jianshun was secretly delighted. Although the Saint armament had cost him 50 million high-quality crystal coins, in Jianshun's eyes, even 100 million high-quality crystal coins would not be able to compare to the Saint armament, let alone 50 million. Suddenly, Jianshun's eyes narrowed. He finally shifted his gaze away from the Saint armament and looked ahead. He saw a dazzling red streak of light shooting toward him with lightning-like speed. The red streak of light moved extremely quickly, crossing several dozen kilometers in a single moment. It had already approached Jianshun. The Grand Elder also discovered the red streak of light shooting over from afar. His face immediately changed, and he said, "Ruler, be careful." The Grand Elder arrived before Jianshun in a flash and directly threw a punch at the red streak of light. The red streak of light seemed to be an illusory ball of light. It did not possess a physical form, so the fist directly passed through the red streak of light without stopping it at all. The red streak of light passed through the Grand Elder's body and directly entered Jianshun's body. Immediately, a blood-red light erupted from Jianshun's body. It vaguely condensed into a blood-red, demonic blade above his head. This is the highest bounty of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, and it concealed the strength of the person being hunted. The Grand Elder's face drastically changed when he recognized the blood-red light above Jianshun's head. Jianshun also became stern. He felt a strange energy invade his body, actually forming a huge net that wrapped around his dantian. You actually want to seal my strength? Don't even think about it. Jianshun was furious. Under the control of his mind, the chaotic Niden in his dantian spewed out large amounts of chaotic force. It surged through Jianshun's body with a destructive presence before turning into a furious dragon. It charged toward the sealing power with an unstoppable presence. The chaotic force and the sealing power collided and immediately entered a stalemate. However, the strength and uniqueness of chaotic force was incomparable to ordinary powers. Very soon, the sealing power was slowly devoured by the chaotic force. In the end, it was completely devoured, leaving nothing behind. After devouring the power of the seal, Jianshun could clearly sense that his chaotic force had increased by a sliver. However, the sliver was extremely small, so small that it was almost negligible. The blood-red light around Jianshun gradually vanished as the sealing power was devoured. Two whistles rang out from afar. Two figures flew toward Jianshun with lightning-like speed. They radiated with killing intent. They had come with ill intentions. Oh no, it's 16-star experts. They're from the Heavens Spirit Hall. Run, ruler. The Grand Elder's face became extremely ugly. He immediately pulled Jianshun away. However, they were not as fast as the two 16-star experts. Before they could get very far, the two 16-star experts flew over Jianshun's head as streaks of light, blocking Jianshun's path. The two 16-star experts were young men around the age of 30. They wore black robes, and although their appearances were rather common, they were exactly the same. They were a pair of twins. The two of them glared at Jianshun as heavy killing intent flickered in their eyes. One of them sneered, "No one can escape after the Heaven Spirit Hall has issued a bounty." The 8 great human experts, Zhou Qianzi and Zhou Yunzi. It's actually you. As outsiders, you actually want to kill the ruler of our turtle clan. Don't you want to stay in the sea realm anymore? The Grand Elder growled. The great Zhou Emperor and Zhou Yunzi both laughed aloud at the same time. They said, "Although we're outsiders, we're working for the Heaven Spirit Hall. This time, it's not us who wants to kill him, but the Heaven Spirit Hall. If you want to blame someone, blame this ignorant brat for offending the Heaven Spirit Hall. Die." A huge sword that was as wide as a palm appeared in the hands of the two of them. They suddenly swung down and sent 2 powerful sword chi toward Jianshun. Although the two of them had casually swung out the attack, a casual attack from the Holy Emperor possessed enough power to destroy the world with their strength at the 5th heavenly layer. The 2 sword chi shot through the air with powerful ripples of energy, heading toward Jianshun. "I'll stop them. Ruler, leave quickly," the Grand Elder called out. The Grand Elder bellowed. His body began to rapidly swell, turning into a 10-meter-long tortoise in a single moment. He blocked Jianshun's path, using his shell to block a casual attack from the Emperor and Zhou Yunzi. The Grand Elder was at the 4th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor, slightly weaker than the two of them. However, his most terrifying aspect was his defense. Even a 5th heavenly layer, Holy Emperor would need to use his full strength to injure the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder was not injured at all after taking on the attacks from the two of them. He threw Jianshun far away with all his might before turning around to engage in a battle with the two of them. He tried to keep them busy and buy time for Jianshun. "Brother, I'll keep him busy. You go kill the target," Zhou Yunzi said emotionlessly. She immediately launched a fierce attack at the Grand Elder. "All right, I only need a single strike to kill him," the Emperor said confidently. He immediately pursued Jianshun. "Don't even think about harming the ruler." Secret technique of the Turtle Clan, universe in the shell. The Grand Elder bellowed out. The shell on him immediately left his body and flew high into the air. In the blink of an eye, it had turned into an extremely huge shell that hovered in the air. At this moment, the turtle shell was over 10,000 meters in size. It hovered in the air like a dark cloud, causing the light in the surroundings to suddenly dim. A great suction force appeared from the shell, sucking in the Emperor and Zhou Yunzi. Afterward, the Grand Elder's figure disappeared into the shell as well, as if he had fused with it. Bang, bang, bang. A muffled rumble rang out from the turtle shell. The huge turtle shell in the air began to shake violently. Vaguely, a vast and boundless energy pulse radiated from the turtle shell. Afterwards, the turtle shell fell from the sky and heavily smashed into the ground. It created a deep crater in the ground, kicking up dust into the air. The Emperor and Zhou Yunzi had already begun fighting the Grand Elder in the shell, so it was possible to imagine just how intense the battle was. The light in Jianshun's eyes flickered with uncertainty as he stared at the shaking shell. He knew that the Grand Elder would not be able to keep the Emperor and Zhou Yunzi trapped for long by himself. Before long, the two of them would break free. It was impossible for him to get very far in such a short amount of time, so he was still hesitating over whether he should use God's descent to kill the two of them. If he wanted to kill 2/5 heavenly layer Saint Kings with God's descent, he would need to sacrifice 1,000 years of his lifespan at the very least. This was because he did not know whether the two of them had grasped the Saint tier battle skill. At this moment, a blue streak of light shot toward Jianshan from afar. A gleam of light flashed through Jianshan's eyes. The king artifact appeared in his hand, and he swung it out with devastating energy. However, the blue streak of light directly passed through Jianshan's king artifact and disappeared into Jianshan's body. Immediately, dazzling blue light shone from Jianshan's body and condensed into a dark blue serpent dragon above his head. It opened its gaping mouth and revealed its sharp teeth. "That's the highest bounty of the Serpent God Hall," Xia Wang cried out. His face was extremely ugly. The highest bounty of the Serpent God Hall was the same as the highest bounty of the Heaven Spirit Hall. Not only did it make the target extremely obvious, but it also sealed their strength. Jianshan's face paled. He had never thought that the experts of the Serpent God Hall would appear at a time like this. The situation was becoming more and more disadvantageous for him. Jianshan immediately used his chaotic force to devour the sealing power. As soon as he finished, a figure with a valiant presence shot over with lightning-like speed, targeting Jianshan. Jianshan's eyes became filled with determination. He immediately prepared to use God's descent. He had no other choice now. Jianshan formed a seal with his hands before his chest. He raised his head and pointed his forehead at the sky. He was preparing to use God's descent. "Ha! You must be the person the Serpent God Hall is hunting down. You're actually able to make the Serpent God Hall treat you with so much importance as a mere 14 star, even forcing me, Li Fengxing, to personally take action. You can rest in peace after dying to my hands." Li Fengxing laughed aloud as he radiated with a valiant presence. Soon after, Li Fengxing saw Jianshan, who was preparing to use God's descent. He immediately let out a soft cry of surprise. "Are you trying to use a secret technique to escape? How can I let you off so easily?" Li Fengxing's speed suddenly increased. He arrived before Jianshan as a blur and kicked Jianshan in the chest. Chapter 903. Jianshan spat out a mouthful of blood as he was blown away. Li Fengxing's kick had already broken several ribs in his chest, causing him to be quite heavily injured. Jianshan's heart sank. With the god's descent interrupted, he could no longer threaten the Holy Emperor at the 5th heavenly layer. Li Fengxing would not give him the time to use the technique again, and he had no ability to escape from the pursuit of a 16-star expert. Although he could temporarily remain safe by hiding in the Saint artifact, the situation would only worsen if Li Fengxing took the Saint artifact away and brought it to the Serpent God Hall. "Brat die!" Li Fengxing laughed aloud. His face was cruel as he directly sent a palm strike toward Jianshan. He did not treat Jianshan with any importance at all. Jianshan was stern. His gaze was piercing. Suddenly, a surging sword intent radiated from his body. At that moment, he seemed to have become a supreme sword, shining with a startling light. The Saint armament appeared in Jianshan's hand. His arm suddenly trembled as he stabbed out with lightning-like speed. The attack was extremely fast. It seemed simple, but it contained Jianshan's comprehension of the laws of the sword, causing the attack to seem flawless. It was perfect. The Saint armament collided with Li Fengxing's palm strike with destructive chaotic force. The Saint armament directly pierced Li Fengxing's hand, and fresh blood immediately flowed from the wound. Li Fengxing produced a sound of surprise. He suddenly clenched his hand that had been pierced by the Saint armament, locking it firmly in his hand. He stared at the Saint armament in surprise. This is actually a Saint weapon left behind by the Holy Emperor of the Human Clan, a 9th heavenly layer expert, when he was nearing the end of his lifespan. Li Fengxing said in surprise, completely ignoring the intense pain coming from his palm. A gleam of light flashed through Jianshan's eyes when he saw Li Fengxing grab the king's Saint weapon. With a thought, the destructive chaotic force immediately shot out from the king's Saint weapon and began to ravage Li Fengxing's hand, causing the wound to widen. This time, Li Fengxing's expression finally changed. He subconsciously loosened his grip and stared at the Saint weapon in Jianshan's hand in shock. He exclaimed, "Just what kind of power is this? It's so strange." Jianshan took advantage of the situation to retrieve his saint weapon. Without any hesitation, his arms immediately began to move rapidly. The saint weapon thrust out continuously, turning into a dense blur that shot towards Li Fengxing. The blurs were secretive and overlapped, completely covering the space in front of him. Jianshan used his swift sword style to its limit. In that instant, he had stabbed out countless times with unbelievable speed. Li Fengxing became stunned as he stared at the dense blurs. He could not help but praise. Every strike seems to be a blur, but it's actually solid. Not bad, you're quite fast. If it were someone with the same strength as you, they would definitely die. It's a pity that the difference between our strength is just too great. What can speed do to me? Space freeze. Li Fengxing extended a finger, and the swords in the air immediately disappeared. The space around Jianshan immediately froze, trapping him in the air, unable to move at all. Jianshan's heart sank. He poured his chaotic force into the saint weapon, and it immediately erupted with an even more terrifying destructive power. It caused the surrounding space to tremble slightly as it forcefully broke through Li Fengxing's frozen space. Jianshan was overjoyed when he saw how he had actually broken through the frozen space of the 16th star expert. The power of the saint weapon really did not disappoint him. He could actually use such strength with it. Jianshan did not hesitate at all. He charged at Li Fengxing with the saint weapon as hard as he could. You're quite capable. You can actually break through my frozen space as the 14th star. The surprise in Li Fengxing's eyes became even heavier as he sighed in amazement once again. He was the leader of the 5 magical beasts, and his strength had reached the 6th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. He was extremely surprised that Jianshan could break through his frozen space. However, Li Fengxing sneered soon after. He said, "I don't want to waste time with you. I'll end your life right now. The sooner I complete the mission, the sooner I can leave this place. This place is far too close to the Poseidon Hall. Kid, I'll show you my true strength right now." Li Fengxing clenched his hand into a fist as invisible world force rapidly gathered. The world force was controlled by a 6th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor, so it was far more powerful than the world force controlled by saint rulers. Although it was the same world force, the difference between the two was like the difference between heaven and earth. "This is a punch with 40% of my strength," Li Fengxing growled. Li Fengxing shouted in a deep voice. He threw out a punch, which caused the space in front of him to distort to an extreme degree. Madness filled Jianshan's eyes. Right now, he could only fight with his life on the line. There was no way out. He stabbed out with his saint weapon as hard as he could, colliding with Li Fengxing's punch. Jianshan vomited a mouthful of blood, which turned into a cloud of blood that drifted through the air. He was blown far away like a cannonball. His face became pale, without a single trace of blood. He constantly coughed up blood along with bits of his organs. Although the attack was only 40% of Li Fengxing's strength, he was still a 6th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor after all. It was not something Jianshan, who was only a saint ruler, could block. He was already heavily injured. "You're actually still alive." Li Fengxing stared at Jianshan, who still hovered in the air, in shock. This belief filled his face. He understood the power of his punch extremely well. It was enough to kill any 9th heavenly layer saint ruler. 40% of my strength is actually not enough to kill you. Then I'll show you 50% of my strength, Li Fengxing coldly said. At this moment, dark clouds suddenly covered the sky, causing all the specks of light in the surroundings to suddenly darken. The huge tortoise shell produced a series of muffled sounds as it shakily flew above Li Fengxing. Then a powerful suction force appeared from the tortoise shell, sucking Li Fengxing in as well. Li Fengxing's eyes shone with a vicious light. He furiously roared, "You old turtle, your shell may be tough, but it's already reached its limit after withstanding the attacks of the 2 emperors. You actually want to suck me in as well? Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Let me smash your shell to pieces." Li Fengxing's voice became softer and softer. He had already been sucked into the shell. "Ruler, run!" The voice of the Grand Elder rang out from the turtle shell. He gasped for breath, and his voice was rather weak. Clearly, he was in great pain. Although the defenses of the Turtle Clan were extremely great, it was still rather difficult for him to endure the attacks of the 2/5 Heavenly Layer, Holy Emperor, and Zhou Yunzi at the same time. It had basically exceeded his limits. "Grand Elder," Jianshun called out. His gaze toward the turtle shell was filled with worry. It was already very difficult for the Grand Elder to keep the two emperors busy, so now that Li Fengxing, who was even stronger, had joined in as well, it was even worse. "Don't worry about me. Run, ruler." The Grand Elder's voice rang out again. His voice was filled with worry. Jianshun stared at the turtle shell deeply. He had only known the Grand Elder for a very short time, yet the Grand Elder had actually risked his life to save him. This deeply affected him. He then gritted his teeth and quickly left with Xie Wang. He hurried in the direction of the Poseidon Hall as quickly as he could. "Old turtle, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Li Fengxing's voice rang out from the turtle shell. Li Fengxing's roaring voice came from the huge turtle shell. Then, a vast amount of energy spread out from the turtle shell, causing the turtle shell to make a muffled sound. The sound was so loud that it was like a muffled thunder in the sky, majestically transmitting over 100 kilometers away. The tortoise shell shook violently, and a crack appeared on its surface. "Old turtle, your turtle shell really is tough. I wonder if it can endure our Saint Tier battle skills." The Emperor's voice rang out from the turtle shell as well. Immediately, the surroundings changed. A terrifying pressure descended from the sky, filling the surroundings. The Emperor and Zhou Yunzi had both used Saint Tier battle skills at the same time. Boom! With a violent boom, the Saint Tier battle skills unleashed by the Zhou Tianzi and Zhou Yunzi exploded within the shell, striking the huge shell viciously. The turtle shell, which was over 10,000 meters wide, directly shattered in the sky. It was blown away in all directions by the powerful force. A rain of blood fell from the sky and dyed the entire region red. The heavy smell of blood permeated the entire region while the Grand Elder had already vanished. "Ruler, run." A message from a lingering will appeared in the sky before slowly disappearing. He had already been annihilated by the Saint Tier battle skills used by the Emperor and Zhou Yunzi at the same time. Only a sliver of his will to protect Jianshun remained. It emitted a weak sound before rapidly dissipating into the surroundings. "Grand Elder," Jianshun sorrowfully cried out. He was devastated. He knew the fate of the Grand Elder of the Turtle Clan. He could already sense that the Grand Elder's soul had already vanished. Only a lingering will remained in the surroundings, unable to forget about his safety. The rain of blood dyed his body red, turning him into a bloody person. This was the Grand Elder's blood. The Grand Elder had died to save Jianshun. He had died to the Saint Tier battle skills of the Emperor and Zhou Yunzi. Two huge strands of sword qi tore through the rain of blood and shot towards Jianshun and Xie Wang. Zhou Yunzi and Zhou Yunzi were hovering several thousand meters away. They had completely locked onto Jianshun and Xie Wang's presence when they unleashed their attacks. Chapter 904. Boom! Amidst a violent boom, the two fingers completely condensed from energy collided with the sword qi shot out by the two brothers. Immediately, a terrifying energy shockwave erupted, reverberating mightily in the void, causing it to tremble. The rain of blood in the sky had already dispersed, blown into the distance by the violent ripple of energy. However, the ground below had become bright red, covered in the blood of the Grand Elder. "Insolent outsider! How dare you kill an elder of my hall? Poseidon, the old man will not spare you." An aged voice rang out from behind. The voice was filled with boundless anger, and a terrifying pressure crushed down. The expressions of the two brothers and Li Fengxing drastically changed when they sensed the terror of the pressure. Although they had not seen the person who had come, they understood that the person was definitely not someone they could handle. "The person who has come is at least an elder of the Divine Hall." Li Fengxing became solemn. Li Fengxing's face became stern. Without any hesitation, he immediately turned around and fled, no longer caring about Jianshun. Even fleeing was a race against time when they faced an expert like that. If they were slightly slower, there was a chance that the expert would catch up. At that time, they would lose a layer of skin even if they managed to survive. Although completing the Divine Hall's mission was important, their own lives were even more important. He sure has come quickly. He's at least at the 9th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor, or even at great perfection. Let's go, Li Fengxing said. The Emperor and Zhou Yunzi were stern as well. They no longer dared to remain there for even a second longer. They turned around and fled, disappearing into the horizon in the blink of an eye. Jianshun was intoxicated by sorrow. He raised his head to look at the deep blue sky as his face was filled with sorrow. The huge turtle shell in the sky had already vanished. Even the familiar figure of the Grand Elder was nowhere to be found. Only a lingering will lingered in the surroundings, which had yet to completely disperse. It was the lingering will of the Grand Elder before he died. It was filled with reluctance and longing. The Grand Elder was dead. Even his corpse was gone. The only thing that remained was a pool of blood and a turtle shell that had shattered into countless palm-sized pieces. Grand Elder. Jianshun's voice was filled with sorrow. He had only reunited with the Grand Elder for a short period of time, but the Grand Elder had given up on his life to save him, resulting in the destruction of his soul. Even his corpse was not left behind. His fate was extremely tragic. Jianshun would never be able to repay what the Grand Elder of the Turtle Clan had done for him, even if he spent his entire life. There was nothing that could be done about the destruction of his soul. Even the origin energy of Radiant Saint Force was unable to save him. Although the origin energy of Radiant Saint Force could bring someone back from the dead, the prerequisite was that the person's soul was still present and their body was in perfect condition. Neither of these two conditions could be missing. A figure quickly appeared in front of Jianshun from behind. It was an old man in his 70s. He was the temple elder who had rushed over from the temple, Elder Hong. Elder Hong stared at the blood on the ground with a sunken face. Heavy killing intent filled his eyes as he coldly said, "The Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall are really becoming more and more arrogant. They've actually killed an elder of our Poseidon Hall. It's a pity that I've come too late." Elder Hong hovered before Jianshun. He raised his head to look at the sky and sighed deeply. The Grand Elder of the Turtle Clan may have died, but he has not died in peace. His lingering will has not dispersed. Elder Hong reached out, and the lingering will in the surroundings immediately condensed. In the end, it formed the hunched figure of the Grand Elder of the Turtle Clan. It was as thin as a shadow. Grand Elder! Jianshun could not help but cry out when he saw the Grand Elder. His voice was filled with sorrow. He knew that the Grand Elder's lingering will had only been condensed, so it would disperse very soon. It would not last for too long. The old man was useless. He failed to protect the ruler. The hope of my Turtle Clan for 30,000 years has been destroyed. This was a message from the Grand Elder's lingering will. It was his final thought before he died. It was filled with an intense reluctance, which was why the lingering will had been formed. "Don't worry, Grand Elder. I will definitely revive the Turtle Clan. That's my promise to you," Jianshun said to the Grand Elder's lingering will. His voice was filled with determination. The Grand Elder had died for him, so he needed to complete his final wish. The Grand Elder's lingering will slowly dispersed. It was blown away by the wind, turning into nothingness. From then on, he had vanished from the world forever. Jianshun stared blankly at the empty space. He was unable to return to his senses for a very long time. A while later, he slowly landed on the ground and used his trembling hands to pick up the fragments of the shell that had scattered around him one by one. This was the only thing the Grand Elder had left behind after his death. He wanted to bring it back to the Turtle Clan as the Grand Elder's body and properly bury it. Sigh. Elder Hong let out a long sigh when he saw this. He did not leave. Instead, he remained there and waited for Jianshun to collect the shells. Xia Wang quickly joined in the collection of the tortoiseshell fragments. The two of them collected the scattered fragments of the tortoiseshell one by one. After 7 days, the two of them finally collected all the shells. They were stowed away in a space ring by Jianshan. Jianshan, come back to the Divine Hall with me, Elder Hong finally said after 7 days. Jianshan gently shook his head. No, Elder Hong. I don't want to return to the Divine Hall for now. I want to go to the Turtle Clan to bury the Grand Elder. After a moment of thought, Elder Hong said, All right. I will pay attention to the movements of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and Serpent God Hall at all times during this time to prevent them from sending any more experts. If you come across any experts from the territory of the Poseidon Hall, all you need to do is show them the medallion the Hall Master gave you. With that, Elder Hong turned and left. Jianshan and Xia Wang left as well after Elder Hong's departure. They made their way to the Turtle Clan. At this moment, the second and third elders were in a secret discussion within the Turtle Clan. They had cast down a powerful barrier in the surroundings, isolating them from all sound. Second elder, the situation seems to be bad. The ruler of our Turtle Clan that has vanished for 30,000 years has actually reappeared. This will mess up our plans, the third elder said with a heavy voice. The second elder sternly nodded. It is indeed disadvantageous for us to have a problem like this at a time like this. Fortunately, the ruler isn't very powerful, so the two of us can still keep him busy for a few days. However, the Grand Elder has already gone with the ruler. With the Grand Elder protecting him, it'll be difficult for us to kill the ruler. If the ruler doesn't die, the Turtle Clan will end up in his hands sooner or later. We need to contact the Taihan clan and get them to begin their plan as soon as possible, the third elder said with a heavy voice. At this moment, the second elder's face changed. He waved his hand and removed the barrier. He said to the door, Didn't I tell you not to disturb us if there's nothing important? Second elder, the ruler has returned. A heavy voice rang out from the door. What? He's returned? The expressions of the two elders changed slightly. They looked at each other before walking out at the same time. At this moment, Jianshan stood in the huge square in the center of the Turtle Clan emotionlessly with a space ring in his hand. Xia Wang stood a step behind Jianshan as he cautiously looked around. A large group of people had already gathered around the two of them. They were all clansmen of the Turtle Clan, and all of them stared at Jianshan. They were either surprised, doubtful, or excited. None of them showed any hostility. I can sense a strange pressure from him. It seems to be the presence of a ruler. Is he really the ruler? Is he really the ruler of our Turtle Clan? A ruler has finally appeared in our Turtle Clan. It's been 30,000 years. It's been 30,000 years. The ruler has finally appeared. It's time for our Turtle Clan to display our former glory. The clansmen in the surroundings all discussed excitedly and with mixed feelings. A few of the older clansmen even shed tears of excitement. The second and third elders have arrived. A clear voice rang out from the crowd. A loud voice rang out from outside the crowd. They all parted to form a path. The second and third elders strode in with a group of saint rulers behind them. Why have you returned? Where's the Grand Elder? The second elder stared straight at Jianshan. He was very unfriendly. The Grand Elder is already dead, Jianshan said with an extremely heavy voice. The two elders were stunned at the same time. They asked in disbelief, What did you say? The Grand Elder is already dead? The clansmen in the surroundings all fell into an uproar when they heard Jianshan's words. They were filled with disbelief. Jianshan said nothing. He carefully passed the space ring in his hand to the second elder. The second elder doubtfully accepted the space ring and checked it. His face immediately changed when he saw the contents of the space ring. He became sorrowful. The third elder seemed to realize something when he saw the second elder's expression. He immediately became stern and took the space ring from the second elder to check its contents. He became extremely sorrowful as well. How did the Grand Elder die? The third elder asked sorrowfully. In order to save me, the Grand Elder was slain by Li Fengxing of the Serpent God Hall and Zhou Yunzi of the Heaven Spirit Hall, Jianshan said with a heavy voice. What? So you were the one who killed the Grand Elder? The second elder was furious as he pointed at Jianshan and yelled out. The Grand Elder died because of us, but it has already happened. Let's bury the Grand Elder properly, Jianshan said. The two elders looked at each other and said nothing more. They immediately began to hold a grand funeral for the Grand Elder. Before long, the news of the Grand Elder's death spread. It caused quite a stir in the territory of the Poseidon Hall. After all, the Grand Elder was a 15-star expert, as well as an elder of the Poseidon Hall. His death was extremely shocking. 3 middle-aged men sat in a majestic castle several 100,000 kilometers away from the Turtle Clan. We've just received news that the Grand Elder of the Turtle Clan is dead. There's no one else who can stop us now. Pass down the order and prepare to move, a blue-robed, middle-aged man with inch-long hair said with a deep voice.